versus the Cincinnati Bengals.
It's been a season of confusion for the Cincinnati Bengals as they didn't pick up their first win until the 9th game of the season. And today they try to make it 2 straight, matching up with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Joel Meyers alongside Dan Hampton, and welcome to Cincinnati. The Steelers are usually just what the doctor ordered for the Cincinnati Bengals. Pittsburgh has not been able to beat Cincinnati since 1987. And Dan, that is a string of 6 straight now for the Bengals against a team within their own division.
Well, we talked to Sam Weiss yesterday, and he told us, hey, I like the way we match up against the Steelers. In particular, his offensive personnel against the defensive personnel. And the thing is, the defense for the Steelers will be in the same defense about 90% of the time. Boomer Esiason knows how to take advantage of that and implement the entire offensive package.
Running the offense once again for the Pittsburgh Steelers, a second-year quarterback out of Maryland, Neil O'Donnell. He is making only his 4th career start, Dan.
Well, Neil's looked pretty good, and especially on paper, he's been effective, but he's still ultimately 0-3. And I think today he's going to have a little bit of a problem with the Cincinnati Bengals, but the Bengals are the worst defense in the league at this point, so he could rebound and have a big day and do something well.
Temperature 40 degrees at kickoff as Gary Anderson and the wind starts to swirl at Riverfront Stadium as it knocked off the tee by the wind. The forecaster said it was supposed to be about 50 to 55. We know what an accurate science meteorology is. And it is 40 degrees at kickoff as James Brooks is back there instead of Eric Ball. So Brooks waiting for the kickoff along with the Bengals' Mike Dingle. And it'll be Dingle to get it underway from the 6. Big hole for Dingle. He's on his way. Can he beat Warren Williams? Williams saves the day for Pittsburgh early. What a start for the Bengals.
Mike Dingle, he's a big back, and he's got an amazing amount of speed. Here you'll see one of the great, all great return guys do is they go right at the defense. They don't go sideways. There, the coverage team stayed in the lanes. Dingle just busted it, able to get up the sideline for big yardage.
There goes that sugar huddle. No huddle at all as Esiason has Tim McGee down to the 10-yard line. What a start for Cincinnati.
He was wild, but he kept the ball. That's a good start for Boomer, being able to go ahead and strike early.
The sugar continues. Donald Evans, defensive lineman for the Pittsburgh Steelers, told us yesterday it's not the fatigue that bothers them. It's they get confused 5 or 6 plays in because of the quick snaps by Boomer and the Bengals. And will there be a quick start today? Can they capitalize in the red zone now? 1st and 10 just outside the 10-yard line. Pressure on Esiason. Nifty move. He finds Eddie Brown's got it. Down to the 7-yard line. It should have been a sack, though. But a great move by Esiason.
Well, Boomer had a little bit of a shoulder problem the last couple of weeks, but that's not really the thing that makes Boomer, so effective here. Is his throwing motion. He's so big and strong, and he's still able to move around in the pocket and dodge some people. There, Donald Evans, the right end, made a big pass rush, taking the inside on Munoz. Esiason just dodged him and played pitch and catch.
That was a 63-yard return for Mike Dingle. Brooks the only one in the backfield. Solid second, just about 7. A little bit better than 7. Motion man Harold Green and a flag up coming up against the offense. This offense has sputtered all year long. Our referee today, Jerry Markbright.
Number 64, offense. Prior to the snap, 5-yard penalty, 2nd down.
Tursky in his 8th year from Holy Cross.
That's pretty uncommon. See a center call for that. Maybe Boomer's got cold hands, Joel. I don't know.
Who would have believed at this point of the season that Boomer Esiason
and decide now
the quarterback in the NFL. For the first 9 games. Brooks in motion. Harold Green, not much available over the right side.
It's for the first 2 passes of the day into the ground.
They still can pick up the first down just inside the 1-yard line. Harold Green has had 3 100-yard rushing days in his last 4 games. He had 135 yards in last week's win Cleveland Browns. And now on 3rd and long, they're ready with the no huddle once again. Started back at the 31-yard line of the Steelers after the great return by Mike Dingle. 4 wide receivers for Esiason. Boomer has time. And it's almost intercepted by Everett. He wanted to go to Reggie Rembert down the middle. So it'll be a field goal try coming up for Jim Breach.
Well, Boomer obviously wanting to get the ball into the end zone. He bought a little time. James Brooks did a good job picking up David Little when Little came around on an outside blitz. But that's a cardinal sin for a quarterback, throw late and deep across the middle of the field. He's lucky he didn't have that one picked off.
That was almost the 12th interception of the year. Taken off the end of Boomer Esiason. He's got 7 TDs and 11 interceptions. And now Jim Breach trying to capitalize out of the hold of the punter, Lee Johnson. A 29-yard attempt. And the Bengals do take advantage inside the Steelers' red zone. So points on the board, 3 for number 3. And Cincinnati's up on top. In his 8th season as the head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals. To your right, well, the dean of NFL coaches, except for one, Don Shula. That's Chuck Noll in his 23rd year with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And not many coaches can say they've got a record of 10-4 against Chuck Noll, but that's what Sam Weiss has against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Rod Woodson won't bring this baby back as Lee Johnson boomed it away. That'll be 1st and 10 for the Steelers as they get it for the first time today at their own 20-yard line. Matchup of Maryland quarterbacks. We've already seen Boomer Esiason, the class of 84, and now the class of 90 represented by Neil O'Donnell. Up front, Dermontti Dawson turning out to be one of the better centers in the NFL now. And the experience is over on the right side. Tunch Ilkin, the right tackle. John Jackson coming back home. The left tackle, he went to Woodward High School right here in Cincinnati. Williams starting for Foster with Hodge in the backfield. Lipstone, the wideouts, and that massive one, the tight end who's Eric Green. O'Donnell throwing on 1st down. There's Eric Green. And it's across the 30 for a 1st down to the 32. Put down by Barney Bussey. Front 7. Well, they've been the strength of this defense. Not many strong suits for this defense, and we'll get into that in just a second. Francis, Barker, Zander, and Williams, the linebackers. And in the secondary, Wayne Haddock's just coming to the Bengals on Wednesday off the waiver wire from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, getting the start at the left corner for Lewis Billups, who's a bit banged up, and one of the 2 inactive today for Cincinnati. 1st and 10 outside of the 32 for the Steelers. Merrill Hodge across the 35 to the 37. Away from Carl Zander momentarily to pick up a couple of extra yards. Merrill Hodge, the dependable one in the backfield. Against the Bengals, though, the Steelers over the last 6 and all 6 losses have averaged only 10 points a game. Last time they beat Cincinnati, it was right here at Riverfront, 1987. They won by a count of 30-16. They're down early by 3, and it's 2nd and 5 from the 37. For Merrill Hodge, James Francis over there, along with Tim Crumrye.
If there is a couple of bright spots in that Cincinnati defense, it has to be the outside linebackers, Francis and Williams. They're playing pretty well, Joe.
First look at the 10-minute ticker. Wild day offensively early, you can tell. San Francisco has an early advantage on New Orleans. Inside the 32, so the loss there about a half a yard. Make it 3rd and almost 6 now for Pittsburgh. They've really had their problems on 3rd down this year. The pocket holds up and it's thrown behind Lewis Lips. He was wide open near the 50-yard line.
Well, Pittsburgh's offense at this point in the season is the worst in the league on 3rd down when they have to get at least 5 yards. Good protection. The routes are run pretty well. Here, O'Donnell just throws the ball behind the receiver. That's pretty hard to take, especially when you had a guy like Lips so wide open.
In his 2nd year from Indiana, Dan Straczynski. Last in the AFC. Punting it away as Mike Barber waits back for the Bengals at the 21-yard line. A little under 10 minutes left in the first 15 minutes of play. Hans Krasinski turns over a nice one this time. Bengals will have it once again offensively at their own 20-yard line. Cincinnati with an early lead on Pittsburgh.
Coverage of the National Football League is brought to you by Pontiac and your local Pontiac dealer. We build excitement. By New Coors Cutter non-alcoholic brew. By the Card, the American Express card. Don't leave home without it. And by Arid XX Antiperspirant. Helps keep you extra dry.
Welcome back once again to Riverfront Stadium. Cincinnati, Joel Meyers along with Dan Hampton, big number 99. And it's a 3-0 lead for the Bengals with 9 minutes and 41 seconds left in the first quarter of play. Cincinnati with it for the second time. First and 10 at their own 20-yard line with Green going in motion. James Brooks out to the 24 for 4 yards. Brooks has not been a happy camper recently. He runs behind a massive offensive line. Munoz, the great one on the left side. He's been to the last 10 Pro Bowls. Kazerski, the man in the middle, plenty of experience all the way up front for the Cincinnati Bengals. Boomer Esiason still has that sore left shoulder. He's got Brooks and Green in the backfield, McGee and Brown the wideouts, and Rodney Holman the tight end. 2nd and 6 from the 24. Pocket holding up for Esiason. Has Rodney Holman, who makes a nice grab past the 35 for a first down. And last time we were here watching the Cincinnati Bengals when they lost to the Seahawks, Rodney had a bad case of the drops.
Well, it looks like he's kind of gotten that put behind him now. But a lot of times that, it's something you can't put your finger on here. He makes a nice catch. Esiason waiting for him on an isolated pattern there on Gerald Williams, the linebacker. Good pitch and catch.
There goes the sugar, as they call it. They're no huddle. The counter. Harold Green making the miss in the backfield. Got the original line of scrimmage. Did a great job. It should have been a loss of about 2 or 3 yards. Instead, it'll bring up second down and 10, still outside of the 38. Defensively for the Pittsburgh Steelers, don't forget this defense was number 1 in total defense in the NFL last year. 14th coming in today, though. Willis, Williams, and Evans up front. Evans a very quick one on the right end. Williams and Nickerson along with Little and Lloyd, the linebackers. And in the secondary, Johnson and Woodson with Lake and Everett, the safeties. And from talking to some of the Bengals yesterday, as Harold Green appears to be injured. Hopefully not a serious one to the right side. But the Bengals were talking about most of the time going to David Johnson's side. Didn't sound like they wanted to test Rod Woodson all that often. So Harold Green put down and injured at the same time after a gain of about a yard as we come back to Riverfront. Sam Weish has to be concerned. Not only does he lose his red-hot rusher, Harold Green, and they're helping him off by way of a stretcher right now. So he looked like he turned his right knee, but they are all of a sudden thin at that position. Eric Ball not playing. That means James Brooks is going to get the bulk of the load today for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Well, I'm kind of disappointed about this an awful lot because this guy's a human highlight film, Joel. I mean, he was so exciting to watch last week. He almost single-handedly kept him in the game. But right here, you see when he comes out of this cut, this right knee right there, it looks like something they'll have to figure out at the hospital. I hate that. I hate to see a player get hurt. But
and you know all about knee injuries, Dan.
Once or twice. But they're going to just have to have Dingle and Brooks carry the load the rest of the way.
Ickey Brooks comes in, or Ickey Woods rather, with James Brooks. And on 2nd and 9, Esiason is pressured, has James Brooks. Hardy Nickerson with a sure-handed tackle to the open field. Taking him pinned close to the sideline of the 42 after a gain of 3.
That's a good job by Nickerson. He's isolated on Brooks. Brooks, one of the toughest guys in the league to cover. When you get a linebacker like Hardy Nickerson who's able to do that, they can give you a lot more options on defense.
Hardy told us yesterday they've been consistent, but they haven't been able to come up with a big play or take the ball away from the opposition as well.
Takeaways is their big problem.
Yeah, this is a big play now early on 3rd and 6 from the 42 for the Steeler defense. Dropped by Ickey Woods. He was one-on-one against the linebacker, Greg Lloyd. Doesn't make any difference, though. Could not hang.
The Boomer Esiason has to be very disappointed about that because when you lose a running back like Green, you hope you can bring some guys in and try to get the offense moving again. Able to bounce back here the last couple of years have been pretty much a non-factor for the Bengals, and it's a shame because you see a guy like that, he could be a big part of the offense. Instead, he just kind of thrives on the outside edges.
Third best punter in the NFL, kicking it to the fourth best punt returner in the NFL, Rod Woodson, waiting for the punt from Lee Johnson.
You can see this tandem in the Pro Bowl in February. Punter to punt returner.
Woodson with problems, and he's put down in a hurry. The linebacker made the hit for the Bengals. That's Ed Brady, former member of the Fighting Illini during his college days. Had an opportunity to check in with the 10-minute ticker once again, and we apologize now for the audio problems we've experienced early today. We're trying to rectify this situation as Dallas scores first on Houston at Houston. That AFC-NFC matchup. And the Jets on top of the Indianapolis Colts. A reminder, at the conclusion of today's contest, we'll be presenting the Avis We Try Harder Award. It'll be given to the game's MVP. First and 10 Pittsburgh. Their own 15-yard line. The screen set up for Warren Williams. And he's got a first down across the 25 and some breathing room for the Pittsburgh offense to the 26. Barney Bussey in on that stop.
Here the Steelers, they haven't protected the passer as well as they had in past years this year, but they're on this real quick screen. They get the ball out to Williams, and he's been one of those guys that has been a real steady contributor. They've got Foster down, and Warren Williams comes in and always seems to carry the load. You know, this guy was an all-purpose wonder down in Miami when he was playing collegiately, and now he's a dependable guy for the Steelers.
First and 10, outside of the 26. O'Donnell throwing again. He's got Dwight Stone. And it's to the 31-yard line for a gain of 5. Dwight Stone, the wide receiver in his 5th year from Middle Tennessee State. They've been talking about the other wide receivers alongside Lewis Lips. They have felt that they have not seen enough of Jeff Graham and Ernie Mills, the rookies from Ohio State and Florida. Mills, the 3rd-round pick, and Graham, the 2nd-round pick, as there goes Harold Green in the Bengal locker room. But at 3 and 6, Steeler fans are wondering when they're going to see some of their draft choices used at the wide receiver position.
It's just a sophisticated offense. It takes a little bit of time for those young guys to catch on to it.
2nd and 5 from outside the 31. Warren Williams going nowhere, losing a yard in the process to the 30. Francis and Williams combining on the hit.
Once again, those two bookend outside linebackers making a play for the Bengal defense. You'll see the right guard, Hasselrig, pull, going to run a long trap here. Good penetration by Alfred Williams, getting up into the gap, stopping the play before it ever developed. Those outside linebackers don't like to take on those big 300-pound guards, but there Williams does a terrific job getting in the running lane.
Steelers looking at a 3rd and long, a 3rd and just about 7. 32% of their 3rd down tries this year. O'Donnell has time and overthrows, but it's almost intercepted. It was tipped by Eric Thomas and then almost picked off deep in the secondary by the free safety, Ricky Dixon.
Well, that was almost an identical play to the last 3rd and 5, where O'Donnell drops back, has great protection, and just basically throws the ball over the head of Lewis Lips. Last time he threw it behind him, so O'Donnell a little bit shaky here in the early going.
Mike Barber waiting for the punt from Dan Straczynski, so that is twice now that the Steelers have started with the ball inside their own 20-yard line, and twice they've had to punt it away. Straczynski with a line drive. Barber back at the 27. Pulled down from behind by Dwight Stone, crossing the 35 at the 36. So for the 3rd time today, the Bengals get it offensively. They lead the Steelers in the 1st quarter by 3. Don't forget to stay with us on NBC for the 2nd game of our big doubleheader this afternoon, the Raiders and the Broncos. And what a critical game it is for the Los Angeles Raiders. The Denver Broncos in first in the AFC West at 7-2. The LA Raiders at 5-4. Must-win situation for Art Shell and his squad. It's coming up for most of you right after the Bengals and the Steelers. 1st and 10 from the 36. Dump off. James Brooks gets the kick-out block. Gets just about 8 yards on the reception. James Brooks has been upset, and he's been vocal about it. He had only 8 carries last week, 8 the week before at Houston, and 7 prior to that at Buffalo. He wants more work. Now with Green going down, he'll get it, Dan.
Well, I don't think there's any question that Harold Green was a guy that was really hot at the time, and James Brooks has been a terrific player, but sometimes you go with a hot hand, and now he'll get all he wants.
Over now 5 of 7. 50 yards and completions, 2nd and 2. Inside the 43. Great play action fake. And Esiason going for the bundle. He's got McGee. It's taken it inside the 10, down the 4.
There's somebody in the league that does it better than him. I think maybe Steve DeBerg, but Boomer is awesome at it, and that is something they have been able to do against Pittsburgh the last 6 contests. Pound away inside, do some different things with the offense, but when you get those safeties committed, like there, you see the safeties were beat. They had to turn and run and try to get back. But Boomer is the best in the world at getting that play action and throwing it deep. I don't think there's any question his arm is well.
First and goal from the 4 for the Bengals, who are already on top by 3 with 3:10 left in the first quarter. To the outside goes Ickey Woods. Touchdown Bengals! They want the shovel here at the Jungle.
Well, we'll see if we get the shovel.
I think it's now a sideline shuffle.
Well, I could hardly sleep last night, Joel, waiting for this. I can't wait. Come on, Ickey.
Jim Breach in for the point after. And the Bengals increase their margin. Yes, we've been waiting for it. Here it is. There's a rumble in the Jungle this afternoon in Cincinnati.
There are the Steelers in that base, 3-4 down on the 5-yard line. Basically, Ickey just breaks it outside. That was a designed stretch there. They'll start to the right, the fullback comes back, circles around, gets the contained guy hooked. Ickey just turns the corner and runs to the corner of the end zone.
That run by Ickey Woods for the touchdown, just about 5 yards, his longest run of the season. That tells you a lot about the Cincinnati offense and the components like Woods that they have been missing. They've been banged up. Boomer Esiason working today with that sore left shoulder.
Well, Ickey is a guy that has an awful lot of talent, and like I said, back when they went to the Super Bowl, he was a very integral part of the offense. He hasn't been that. And I think there's a lot of people in Cincinnati, and especially on this football team, that expect him to be a part of it. Hopefully this will kind of help get him off to a good start in the second half of the season and get him more involved.
10-0 Cincinnati. 3 minutes, 2 seconds left in the first 15 minutes of play. They have owned the Pittsburgh Steelers at Riverfront Stadium over the last 3 years. Last year they beat them by the score of 27-3 as Woodson will bring it back from his own 1. He won't even make it to the 10, just barely. Vincent and White, the first 2 down there for Cincinnati special team.
Well, Woodson got up and kind of looked exasperated, like, hey, there's 6 guys down there hitting me. Who's blocking? Woodson, one of the finest in the league, has no help. Here you'll see 2 Bengals in the picture, 3, 4. I don't care if you got an S on your chest. You're not going to get the ball back up the field without a little help.
17 points over the last 11 quarters in the first half. For the Pittsburgh Steelers, their problems continue today, and Merrill Hodge wrapped up after a gain of only 1. Tim Crumry, the nose tackle.
Joe, here in the early going, it just looks like Cincinnati wants to play a lot more than the Steelers do today, and their defense is playing pretty darn well early. But the thing is, I think they're a lot more fired up about the game than the Steelers.
More scores. We look at the 10-minute ticker and look at that top one. Cleveland already with 16 points against that Philadelphia defense, the #1 defense in the NFL. 2nd and 9 for O'Donnell and the Steelers offense outside their own 11. Delay for Merrill Hodge. first down across the 20. Out to the 21-yard line. He's knocked down by James Francis.
Merrill Hodge, the fullback, does such a great job of running the ball inside. But more than that, he's an excellent blocker. He doesn't get to the credit that he deserves on blocking. And we talked to Warren Williams yesterday about how much he loves playing with Merrill Hodge, how well he blocks. But here you can see he's a very, very smart player, following his blocks perfectly, zigzagging back and forth like a little topwater bait if you're fishing. But he's one of those guys that Chuck Noll loves. He's a guy that'll show up each and every week, each and every year, give it all he's got.
Originally a 10th-round pick back in 1987. That turned out well for Pittsburgh. First and 10 outside of the 21. Warren Williams with flags into the air. Cutting it back nicely across the 25. The 26. David Poulter into the head, but let's find out about the penalty. Jerry Markbright, the referee this afternoon. So we'll go against the Steelers. Motion.
Illegal motion foul on the offense. Two offensive men moving at the snap simultaneously. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Well, as we talked in the opener about how sophisticated this offense is, and it takes time, especially, when they want to talk about bringing those young guys in. Here you've got some veterans that still have not been able to grasp it totally, and it's kind of a contradiction. Their defense for the Steelers is so vanilla. This offense is so sophisticated. They're under Joe Walton, the offensive coordinator. I mean, it's a vanilla defense and a Baskin-Robbins 34-flavored offense. And it's kind of a strange comparison.
First and 15. Delay. They stayed home. And the running back. That was Warren Williams. Knocked down in a hurry. Going across the 15. Out to the 17. That is all. So a gain of maybe a yard. And you saw that last graphic, the second most penalized team in the NFL. You would not expect that from a Chuck Noll squad. So they beat themselves more often than not.
Well, some of the times, just like that last penalty, it was a little bit of confusion on the offensive side resulting in motion. On defense, they've been taking a little bit of a flagrant error, and they've been getting some cheap penalties called against them on defense.
Second and long for Louis Lips. What a grab to maintain his footing and get both feet down in time. He's down to the 29-yard line, where he's short of the first down by about 3.
Well, this is the third time O'Donnell has thrown the ball in the direction of Haddix, the waiver wire pickup that Cincinnati starting at left corner. They completed one. So look for them to go ahead and try to work on Wayne Haddix. Haddix is playing in a system that's not very complex. A lot of times they just back up in the soft zone. Sometimes they'll go up and lock up in a man-on-man situation with a little help from a safety. But Wayne Haddix was one of the better cornerbacks in the NFC at Tampa. It's a good break for Cincinnati getting him.
And that will turn out to be the last play of the first quarter. So when we start the second quarter, it'll be third and a little bit more than 3 for the Steelers in their own territory, trailing already by 10. In on the first quarter numbers, we also take a look at Bubby Brister. Quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers went out a few weeks back with a knee injury and has not been able to regain his starting position. I talked to him yesterday, and he is very, very frustrated.
Well, O'Donnell's the guy they're going to go with for a while, even though Bubby's healthy enough to come in. O'Donnell's more the type that will set in the system and operate within the structure.
Third and 3, they've got the first down. Merrill Hodge on the receiving end of that pass by Neil O'Donnell, who is now 5 of 7. Leo Barker, the linebacker, on the coverage. But the Steelers do move the chains, and that's been a problem spot. They do convert on the third down. Leo Barker in his 8th year out of New Mexico State. So it's a first and 10, close to the 34-yard line. And our best to Francis Brister, who I know is watching the game back in Louisiana this afternoon. We all enjoyed watching her during the playoffs a couple of years ago. And it's first and 10. Stone going in motion. Wide open, Dwight Stone. Does he hang on in time? Yes. He maintained control before he went out of bounds at the 38.
Stone makes a good grab of this very hot pass. O'Donnell's got a gun. Stone catching the ball, even though it was a little bit high. But the thing is, on a pass like that, you'd like to throw it on that upfield shoulder where he doesn't have to turn around and face the opposite way. Give him a chance to go ahead and turn the corner and get upfield.
Well, the fans hoping for a review before the next play is snapped. They watch the replay, and you can hear the boos coming down as O'Donnell has a man over the middle. It's complete. That's Callaway. And another first down. This time they take it in Cincinnati territory.
Well, there O'Donnell worked within the system. We talked, Bobby's a guy that likes to get out of the pocket, try to make some things happen, kind of a grab back quarterback, go for the big play all the time. There O'Donnell worked within the system. He had a flare to the right. He checked that. He checked the out on the far sideline, and then he went back across the middle, his third option, and hit Callaway. So O'Donnell is learning each and every week and looking better each and every week within the system of Joe Walton.
First and 10 at the Bengals' 46-yard line. Pressure coming from the blind side. O'Donnell gets rid of it in time. And Alfred Williams was all over Neil O'Donnell.
O'Donnell has a certain knack, and all the good quarterbacks do. They can tell when they're getting some heat on the backside. There in his peripheral, he saw that Williams was turning the corner on him, went ahead and tried to go deep, but he was smart enough to make sure he threw it far enough where it would only be a reception, not an interception.
So now it's going to be 2nd and 10. The second-year quarterback from Maryland, the class of 90.
Boomer said he knows O'Donnell so well that he broke all his records in Maryland. It looks like he didn't get them all.
Warren Williams, not much available. Just about 3 yards on the carry. So Leo Parker is a get-in on that stop. An opportunity to check the Schick Tracer 10-minute ticker. Washington with a 4-point advantage. Dallas now on top by 10 at Houston against the run and shoot of the Oilers. The Jets still with that touchdown lead over the Indianapolis Colts. And Cleveland surprising everybody early. And don't forget the second game of our doubleheader today. The Raiders and the Denver Broncos. Can they convert on 3rd and long, 3rd and 7? Wide open. Leroy Thompson out of Penn State. They love him out of the backfield on 3rd down. He's been injured too often as far as Steeler fans are concerned this year. He's got a first down to the 27-yard line. He's their 6th-round draft choice. And Chuck Noll was telling us he is the complete package. He does everything well out of the backfield.
Well, Chuck said he was surprised at how well that he caught the ball, and a lot of times running backs don't have that knack. It's something they have to develop, but Leroy showed up, and he said he may have the best hands of all the backs, so that's why they like to use him out of that backfield, catching the ball on that flat.
This is the 11th play of the drive that started all the way back at the Pittsburgh 10-yard line. Blocking out in front for Warren Williams. Former Miami Hurricane cuts it back to the 21. 6 on that carry. 11 minutes, 45 seconds left in the first half. A 10-0 Cincinnati lead, and those first half offensive problems continue for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They've got to get points on the board. In fact, already this year, they only have 6 touchdowns in the first half of their first 9 games.
Well, I think they're doing the right thing. They're using Williams. He rushed for 63 yards last week, able to bang around and up inside, make some things happen. O'Donnell is taking what the system allows him. When the defense covers on the outside, he goes across the middle. So I think the offense right now in this drive is working perfectly.
2nd and 4 from the 21. O'Donnell for Green. Just off his fingertips. Good coverage by the outside linebacker, James Francis.
Well, Francis, if he can cover like that every time, he'll be in the Pro Bowl soon. But he looked like he was a little bit early on Green. But that's how you got to cover Eric Green. This guy is so big. I mean, you've got to be all over him because you can think the ball's out of his reach, and he has that huge wingspan. He can go get it. So Francis doing a great job getting up, knocking the ball down.
More than just the wingspan is huge on Eric Green.
Those pants aren't too small either.
3rd down, 3rd and 4. O'Donnell has it ripped away, maintains his poise though and gets it back. And coming up defensively for the Bengals.
It's Danny Stubbs, a guy they picked up this week. Now, that's what Cincinnati is looking for. They can bring a guy in, they can say, okay, show us what you can do. Here you see Stubbs just going right around Punch Ilkin, the right tackle. Cincinnati had a good stunt on the inside. Ilkin trying to keep that inside foot up close to the line, allowing Stubbs to turn the corner. And that's what Danny Stubbs does so well. He can rush the passer. Maybe not the greatest run defender in the world, but Cincinnati picked him up just for that. Use him on nickel. Get the quarterback.
It's a 44-yard field goal try coming up for Gary Anderson. He is 12 of 16 on the season, make it 13 of 17. So finally the Steelers do get on the board with 10:23 left in the first half and trail the Bengals now by 7. Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati, once again, Joel Meyers along with Dan Hampton. I'm holding right now the scouting report on Dan Hampton. This was given to us yesterday by Jim McNally, the offensive line coach. And a couple of the things they talk about when you talk about Dan Hampton: plays high. You can use the rip on him. They show the stunts with Hampton and Dent. Also, keeps pushing his, well, I can't use that word on the air.
I like the one comment, talks too much.
Brooks on the return across the 20, close to the 21-yard line. A couple of the other comments on the scouting report of big number 99: stands up on the pass once you jam him and wants to block the pass. No, you never wanted to get in the face of the quarterback and block a pass.
Boy, you read that thing, you think I was a dock worker, Joel. They didn't have a lot of nice things to say.
No, tries to grab and penetrate. He's better to his right, which is our left. Tougher to hook to our left.
Well, you know,
what a science. What a science.
Those offensive linemen of the Bengals, they are just meticulous when it comes to note-taking, I tell you.
And thanks to the offensive line coach, Jim McNally, we had some fun yesterday picking up on that. Look at Ickey Woods go. He's got a first down. He did not figure prominently in the game plan this week. Believe me, when we talked to the Bengals yesterday, pleasant surprise.
Well, I think it is a pleasant surprise, and it's good to see Ickey hitting the line with some authority. There was just great blocking, and you know, the Bengal offensive line is so big, so strong. They've got so many guys that are able to control people one-on-one. A lot of times, offensive linemen, you've got to help a certain guy here and there. But the Bengals offensive line, they think they can take everybody man on man, and that's a great job by the right guard Moyer and Joe Walter, the right tackle.
The injured players, the starting left cornerback David Johnson out of the University of Kentucky for the Steelers. Now, when we asked Boomer Esiason yesterday to try to account for their success against the Cincinnati Bengals, he says, you know, I'm really surprised. We play them twice a year, but for some reason they have problems adjusting to our no-huddle, our sugar. It seems like they just don't cope with it well.
Well, and especially after about the 5th or 6th play, that's when the Steelers start losing focus and they get rattled.
1st and 10 after the run by Ickey Woods. He's in motion, leading the way for James Brooks. And Brooks driven down in a big way just outside the 34-yard line where he got a couple of yards. Williams and Little on the stop.
Well, if you watch the left side of your screen, Anthony Munoz, number 78, against Donald Evans, number 66. Now watch Munoz get movement, spin him, and then watch him body slam Evans. Munoz is one of the best in the league, but, I mean, he can dominate you if you don't watch out.
Eddie Brown in motion on 2nd and 8. Pressure on his size, and Brooks available. Dodging David Little for a first down. Good recognition by Esiason, too.
Excellent recognition. What happened was Greg Lloyd blitzed. You'll see Lloyd here, 95. Now, he can pick up that back, or he can run by him. There, Brooks acted like he was going to block him, and then just slipped out. Boomer alertly just kind of played a little toss over the head of Greg Lloyd. Big play.
The Sugar continues to roll with a 10-3 lead in the first down to the 48-yard line. Under 8.5 left in the first half. Play action for Esiason. Pressure coming. And a wide open receiver. It's Eddie Brown. Gets away from Woodson and has the first down inside the 40. But again, pressure that Esiason managed to elude.
We talked about how Boomer does such a great job of getting in and out of the pocket. Some quarterbacks, they just like to scramble. Boomer doesn't just scramble. He just buys time, dances around, avoids a rush, and then finds the guy he needs to get the ball to and fires it.
Well, Delton Hall, who just came in for the other injured quarterback, David Johnson, he is also down. More bad news for the Steelers.
I've had my share of sore throats.
Coverage of the National Football League is brought to you by Oldsmobile, the power of intelligent engineering. By Visa, official card and traveler's check of the 1992 Olympic Games. Visa, it's everywhere you want to be. By Michelin, because so much is riding on your tires. And by the Die Hard battery, now with more power when you need it most.
Welcome back once again to Cincinnati. Joel Meyers, Dan Hampton, 7:45 left in the first half. A 10-3 Bengals lead. They are rolling once again. First and 10 at the 37 of the Steelers. Esiason with pressure. Tight end Holman. He's got a first down inside the 20. Munoz getting up slowly after the second game of the season. Joe Green, the defensive line coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers and a Hall of Famer, after their loss 52-34 at Buffalo, he says, we can either be a good one, a real good unit, or we can be a very mediocre one. He challenged his group so far, though, Dan, they've been very mediocre.
Well, not only that, we talked with Donald Evans. He said, hey, attitude is what he stresses the most, right? Well, they have been more aggressive. They've been blitzing some guys today, trying to make something happen, but Boomer has been able to pick them apart every time they try something like that.
First and 10 outside of the 17. Esiason with all day this time. Now dumps it. He's got a man. Touchdown, Holman!
It looks like the case of dropitis is finally cured. Holman making some spectacular catches here in the first half, but that was a great, patient read by Esiason.
The size 6 shoe of Jim Breach into the leather. And the point after is perfect. An impressive start for the offense for the Bengals today. A 17-3 lead over the Steelers with 6:52 left in the first half. 17-yard touchdown pass for Boomer Esiason.
Well, here the play action to Woods keeps the defensive linebackers drawn up inside. He goes right, looks for the receivers. Left receivers. Now he spots Holman, the tight end. Now he is being covered excellently by Gerald Williams, but it was just a perfect throw and a great catch by Holman.
Lee Johnson kicks it away to Rod Woodson once again. Woodson from his own 5. And Woodson with his best return so far across the 30. Almost a late hit. Yes, Dingle came in late. Then takes a shove at Olszewski. He's already picked up one personal foul. He doesn't need a second. Tack on 15 for Pittsburgh. They'll have great field position now.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, late hit on the tackle, number 38, kicking team, 15 yards, first down.
Well, that's the lack of discipline. When we asked Sam Weish about Mike Dingle, he said, he's a player. He looks great on the practice field, but he is not disciplined yet.
When discipline comes from doing little things right for a long time. And you just can't go out there and say, okay, act disciplined today. You got to do it in practice. You got to do it for a long time to make sure that you're disciplined enough not to go off and do something like that. Coming flying in late, falling on the foul. He didn't hurt anybody, but the officials will call that every time. Now, he's got to understand that.
First and 10 for the Steelers, down by 14. Close to their own 48. Their best field position to start a drive by far. Merrill Hodge stringing it out, getting good yardage into Bengal territory. Rolling out of bounds at the 45-yard line of Cincinnati. Forced out by another number 33, David Fulcher. Had a chance to check the Schick Tracer 10-minute ticker. Buffalo on the board for the first time to get the equalizer against Green Bay. And Houston finally scores in the second quarter at home against Dallas. As the Jets have their second touchdown of the afternoon. And Cleveland continues to roll against the number 1 defense in the NFL against the Eagles. O'Donnell on second and short. The wide throw to the wide side of the field, and Louis Lips has it for the first down in front of Wayne Haddix. So that's the second reception now for Louis Lips. One more, and he ties Lynn Swan for second place on the all-time reception list for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, O'Donnell had the ball float on him just a little bit, but Lips able to bring it in. But anytime they're going to need something on the plus side offensively, that's where they're going to look. O'Donnell doesn't even look to his left side. He goes back and finds Lips over there working on Haddix, that we talked about, coming in just this week and starting his first game here.
Cincinnati close to 200 yards of total offense compared to the 121 for the Steelers. Eric Green goes in motion on first down, leading away from Merrill High. And good pursuit down the line. James Francis over there along with Tim Crumrine.
Well, Francis and Alfred Williams are first-round draft pick. Bookend, defensive, outside linebacker, defensive ends. They do an awful lot of different things for the Bengals, but they really like Francis. They think this guy can be one of the dominant linebackers in the league, and he's big. He's 6'5", about 245 pounds. Tight ends have a hard time with him, and yet he's able to go ahead and cover backs and tight ends on pass coverages. So he's a guy that they really think they can build a defensive front around.
Second and long, 2nd and 8. O'Donnell going deep for Lips, and overthrows Lips, who was available against Eric Thomas. Had a step on the cornerback.
Louis Lips has been an awful good player for the Steelers for a long time. But if there's one thing Louis doesn't possess, is that run-away speed. Here you'll see him run the stutter step. Thomas just sits in there cool. And Louis is unable to go for the ball. A lot of receivers, you'll see him hit that other gear, that 5th gear, and go get that type of a pass. Louis not able to go get it anymore, I don't believe. But still a great guy on 3rd down across the middle.
And now it is 3rd down. 3rd and 8 as Ernie Mills comes in and takes over for Lips. O'Donnell looking in that direction, and it's knocked away from Leroy Thompson. Perfect timing on the hit by Ricky Dixon. Dixon in his 4th year from Oklahoma.
Well, Dixon is one of those guys that unload every time he gets a chance. Making a great timing decision on that. A lot of times you'll have to pull back a little bit, make sure you don't get interference. Dixon able to time it up perfectly to arrive at the same time the ball causes the drop pass.
This will be a 46-yard try coming up for Gary Anderson, his longest of the season, 49 yards out. Plenty of distance on that one. And all the points on the board so far for the Pittsburgh Steelers coming from number 1. 3rd most accurate place kicker in NFL history, Gary Anderson. A cool afternoon in the Queen City has not slowed down the offense of the Cincinnati Bengals. Already 17 points in the first half, a 17-6 lead over the Pittsburgh Steelers. Sam Weiss and his group looking for their 2nd straight win, only their 2nd win of the season. So they come in at 1-8. 4:25 left in the first half. Joel Meyers and Dan Hampton. And James Brooks will bring it back from the 11. Brooks taking it out across the 20 to the 22-yard line. We'll be right back to look at Boomer Esiason and the red-hot offense. But first, let's go to Bob Costas.
All right, Joel, at County Stadium in Milwaukee, Packers leading 7-0 over the Bills, but not for long. Jim Kelly's pass intended for Thurman Thomas didn't hit him, but it works out just as well from Buffalo's perspective. Andre Reed there to pick off the deflection. Moments later, Green Bay hits a field goal. They lead 10-7 at home in the 2nd.
Thank you, Bob. And right now, the Steelers defense looking like the defensive units that's dead last in the NFL. Not 14th like they are. Dead last, that's the Cincinnati Bengals. It's James Brooks hammering away from short yardage to the 25-yard line. The Sugar, a very effective one. So far, the first 4 possessions, they have scored 3 out of the first 4 they've had the ball. With the field goal by Jim Breach, the touchdowns, the pass to Holman, and the run by Ickey Woods. Both teams with all 3 timeouts remaining in the first half. 2nd and 8 from outside the 25. Play action for Esiason. He's got Tim McGee against Woodson and poked away by Rod Woodson. That was a jump ball situation.
Well, Boomer knows that Woodson, being one of the finest in the league, it'll take a little play action or something to help sell the pattern. Here, Boomer taking a shot, maybe underthrowing it just a hair.
Boomer going for Eddie Brown. He's got him, and he's also got the first down. Past the 35 to the 38-yard line. Eddie Brown, his favorite target in the early going. Former first-round draft pick in '85. Another former Miami Hurricane.
Coming into this game, he had caught 30 passes, Joel, and Tim McGee, the other wideout, had 31. So Boomer able to get the offense spread around, not giving anyone too big a share or too small a share. And that's what a good quarterback does, is use all the weapons.
As opposed to the Steelers, where their top two receivers, their tight end and their running back, they have not been able to find the wideouts regularly. As Ickey Wood sets up as the only one in the backfield. Brooks in motion on 1st and 10 from the 38. Esiason in trouble, and there's the first sack for the Steelers. It's the backer, the outside linebacker, Greg Lloyd. And a considerable loss for the Bengals, all the way back inside their own 30 to the 29.
Lloyd gets the sack here, the play action not being as effective. We'll see number 98, who is Gerald Williams, coming around on a loop. He's the guy that caused the sack. Lloyd gets the credit, but Gerald Williams is the one that made it happen. And Boomer knows that he's got to go ahead and pound that inside to keep those defensive linemen worried about the run before he can go ahead and get that play action going again.
A loss of just about 10 yards brings them 2nd and 20. Dump off to Woods. And staying with the play very effectively, Gerald Williams, the outside linebacker. And more pressure coming from the outside as they brought the inside backer, Jerry Olszewski, on the last play. We've reached the 2-minute warning with the Bengals in control. The 2-minute warning in Cincinnati, a chance to check in once again on the Schick Tracer 10-minute ticker. Green Bay with a field goal from Chris Jackie, leading Buffalo by 3, while Washington tries to raise their record to 10-0. Dallas, a 3-point lead on the road at Houston. The Jets, a couple of scores against the Indianapolis Colts. And still a very tight affair at the Superdome as the Eagles are trying to rally early, trailing by 9 now at 23-14. It's the 3rd and long for Boomer and the Bengals. Pocket collapses, fumble, loose ball, and the Bengals, Joe Walters scrambling, the offensive lineman to pick it up, the right tackle. It could have been disaster late for Cincinnati.
Well, Big Joe Walter, the right tackle, able to get the ball, but unfortunately it looks...
First charge timeout, Pittsburgh.
Unfortunately, it looks like the guy, Greg Lloyd, that he was blocking was the one that caused the fumble. So he had a minus, but then a plus at the end. So I think that's something that Boomer doesn't want to get into here today, is in a long yardage situation where he knows the defense can rush the passer. He likes to go ahead and pound away and use that play action.
Don't forget, coming up after today's game at Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati, the second half of our doubleheader on NBC. Great AFC Western Division matchup and a must-win for the Los Angeles Raiders. They're on the road at Mile High against Elway and the Broncos. The Broncos at 7-2. The Raiders with a 5-4 record. And don't forget, coming up at halftime, the Domino's Pizza NFL Live halftime report. Bob Costas and company. That's just a few minutes away. Minute 51 left in the first half. A 17-6 lead. Boomer and the Bengals. Lee Johnson ready to give it back, though, to the Steelers. Rod Woodson will wait back at his own 30-yard line. Woodson from the 27 gets away from Reggie Rembert. Solid field position. Outside of the 35 for O'Donnell and the Steeler offensive unit. The 38-yard line is the start of this series. They trail by 11. 9 of 15, 97 yards. He's missed a couple of long balls where he's had a couple of available receivers.
But his stats look good on paper, but that's the system again. You know, Joe Walters doesn't want to get into a game where he has to make the quarterback make big plays. He thinks the system is structured so the quarterback can make enough good plays, they'll end up in the end zone.
1st and 10, O'Donnell, with Stone having a big cushion on Wayne Haddix. And he's got a first down, getting out of bounds to conserve that time. Stopping the clock with a minute 33 left, and that was a huge cushion. Sam Weiss told us yesterday, though, since they've looked at Haddix and they got him into camp on Wednesday, said he's a good zone cover man. We don't want to put him in one-on-one situations too often because that is not his strength.
Well, he's a lot bigger than most of the corners you see around the NFL. He's a guy that real sound. He'll just stay out there, drop back, and come up, make sure tackles, but he's not one of those guys who can get in your back pocket and chase you around the field.
1st and 10 from the Cincinnati 48. O'Donnell out of the shotgun. Alfred Williams applying the pressure, and Stone has it go in and out of his hands. He was working again on Wayne Haddix.
Well, O'Donnell has thrown the ball about 8 times in Haddix's area, and only 1 time over there where Eric Thomas, the other corner, patrols. He was getting a little heat there. This is a very catchable ball. Stone showing some speed, running by Haddix. Haddix dropping off into that deep zone, getting up underneath the safety. Should have had it.
Got to catch that one.
Normally he does.
2nd and 10. Minute 27 left in the first half. O'Donnell trying to buy time. Not the most mobile, and Alfred Williams has the sack. A flag on the play as well.
Well, that was a sack, but I think the secondary for Cincinnati finally got everybody covered up and forcing O'Donnell to eat the ball. Williams finally going ahead and getting him down. There could be a face mask, maybe a little unnecessary roughness, or it could be Jackson, the left tackle, hanging on. It's a face.
We have a face mask foul. Number 94, defense. It's a 5-yard penalty, but it goes back to the line of scrimmage. By rule, it'll be 2nd down again.
Well, this is a big break for Pittsburgh. Alfred Williams fighting off Tom Jackson, the left tackle, 94 there, finally getting him down. But I don't see that penalty.
You don't buy that, do you, partner?
I don't see it. I mean, that quarterback has a helmet. He's got pads on. Let those big guys get him down the best way they can. Unless they want to tape a handle on the back of him, let the guys play with him.
2nd and 10. O'Donnell hit again. No penalties this time. James Francis from the blind side.
Time and time again today, we've seen the offensive tackles for Pittsburgh give up pressure. Again, Tom Jackson's side, they came from the left side. O'Donnell getting pelted here in this final series.
First charge timeout, Cincinnati.
So the sack for James Francis when we come back, 3rd and long. 3rd and just about 20 for the Steelers, who trail by 11. Last week in the loss to the Denver Broncos by the score of 20-13, the Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line gave up a season high of 6 sacks of their quarterback Neil O'Donnell. Once again, Dan, the defensive pressure is getting to this offensive line of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, I think more than anything else, they're having some breakdowns out at the tackle position. Tunsil can still a fine run blocker, but he's not able to get around and get that back corner sealed off against these speed rushers that you're seeing today. Tom Jackson struggling on the left side. Dermontti Dawson and the 2 guards are doing a good job up the middle, but those outside flank guys are getting the quarterback beat up.
3rd and just about 20, called a 3rd and 19. They need to go inside the 38 of the Bengals, looking for Ernie Mills. And it was double coverage. Eric Thomas and Ricky Dixon. So punting situation, and don't forget, Cincinnati still has 2 timeouts remaining with 68 seconds left in the first half.
Well, the Steelers are an offense structure that they like to make the little plays and keep them going and keep them moving it. They don't really have a big play guy. Louis Lips doesn't have the speed that you would like to see your big play people have, and you know, ultimately, if they get in a big hole, it's hard for them to get back out of it.
So the Steelers waste great field position. They started with the ball at their own 38-yard line. Now Lee Johnson will give it back to Cincinnati. Mike Barber waiting for the Bengals at the 15-yard line. And almost snapped over the head of Dan Straczynski, rather. And Barber comes up on it with a fair catch at the 20-yard line. So Straczynski doing a good job to bring it down. As Dermontti Dawson is the snapper on the punts. Fortunately, Straczynski goes at just about 6'2". now Boomer and the Bengals with a 17-6 lead. I asked Sam Weiss yesterday, how's the team holding up morale-wise? He said, morale-wise, we're great. He said, chemistry, that's a completely different story with a football team.
Well, I don't think there's any question that when Boomer Esiason comes out and says, we got some fat cats not pulling the weight, he's pointing the finger at some of the guys on the team. Now, we're not talking about 40 or the 45. We're talking maybe 3 or 4 or 5 of the 45. So a few bad apples can spoil the whole bunch.
First and 10 from the 20. Esiason finds Eddie Brown. He's short of the first down. Takes it to the 28-yard line, short by 2. They'll try to save those timeouts, but the clock is moving. Under 50 seconds left in the first half.
But I'll tell you what helps morale and chemistry the most is being able to go out and get an early lead like this.
Picked off by Everett. He wanted Reggie Rembert. Boomer forced it. And the Steelers are back at work again on offense. At the 30-yard line, close to the 29. Now that's a 12th pick, the 12th interception of Esiason this season. Came in as the 23rd rated quarterback in the NFL.
Well, that's something the Steelers haven't been able to do this year, is come up with an interception or a fumble when they have their backs against the wall, or even when they're trying to make something happen and get the offensive ball back. So I think turnovers is one of the reasons why the Steelers have been so disappointing here the last 4 weeks. They have not been able to get them, and they turned it over a little bit too much.
So now with 36 seconds remaining, the Steelers have it first and 10 at the 29 with 2 timeouts left. The dump off for Merrill Hodge. With Dawson out in front. Does he get out of bounds? No, he doesn't. Does not stop the clock. Inside the 25. And the Steelers will use one of their 2 remaining timeouts.
Second charge timeout, Pittsburgh. This is a 40-second timeout.
Big play by David Fulcher to keep him in bounds, to get that knee down before Merrill Hodge could roll out of bounds. So 1 timeout left for Chuck Noll and the Steelers. Well within the range already of Gary Anderson for a field goal try. And don't forget, coming up at halftime, it's the NFL Live team, the Domino Pizza NFL Live halftime report. But the Steelers, they need points. And now we talked about attitude on defense. Can they get nasty when it counts? Can they stop the opposition? The defense that is dead last in the NFL. In a very critical situation late. You hate to give up points, don't you, Dan, in the final minute of a half or a quarter?
Well, a lot of people think that the most important 10 minutes of a ball game is the last 5 minutes of the first half and the first 5 of the second half. So obviously you don't want to give up anything, but you want to kind of go into the locker room on an upswing. I remember one time we led by 21 points playing Washington. Well, they get a big return and they get a quick field goal. Well, we didn't think much about it, but it was kind of a downer when we went in. Next thing you know, they came back and got 3 quick touchdowns and went ahead and beat us. So I think what you do in this last minute or 2 is very important.
Second and 6, the ball to the 25. O'Donnell for Leroy Thompson. But again, still inbound, short of the first down. Just outside the 20-yard line. Clock continues to roll. We'll save that final timeout to get Gary Anderson on the field. Quarterback sneak for a first down. They've got to stop the clock. And finally they do. With 3 seconds left. I'm surprised he didn't throw the ball into the ground. Does that surprise you?
You could be around this game for 50 years, you still see something that surprises you. You see Chuck? No, he doesn't.
There's no charge timeout. Stop by the referee for a measurement.
Well, it's pointless. I mean, what do they need the timeout saved for at this point?
They've got to use the timeout eventually anyway. And now Chuck Noll says, get it called. We don't want the clock starting with only 3 seconds left. And they don't care about a measurement because they're going to go with a field goal try anyway.
Well, it just doesn't make any sense. Quarterbacks should pull away, throw the ball into the ground, clock stop, bring on the kicker. So we talked about, young quarterbacks. This is really the 4th start for O'Donnell. So
third charge timeout.
So Chuck's personality is upgraded to probable here. I don't think I've seen him with an outburst like that in quite some time, but Sam kind of snickers at that.
And Chuck, of course, wanted an explanation from referee Jerry Markbright. Jerry saying it was going to be stopped anyway for the measurement. Chuck just wanted to make sure it did not start once again. And when all is said and done, it is going to be a 37-yard field goal try coming up for Gary Anderson. He's already hit from 44 and 47 yards out. He's 2 for 2 this afternoon. He is 14 of 18 on the season, and 3 of his 4 misses have come from the 50 and beyond. He had that string snapped last week at 57 straight, made from the 35 and in, when he hooked a 24-yarder at Mile High Stadium. And in the final play of the first half, he tries to get some points on the board for Pittsburgh, but Cincinnati will make him think about it for just a little bit longer. You wouldn't think this would affect a veteran like Gary Anderson, would you, Dan?
I don't see how it can, because this is what those kickers that last a long time thrive on. You find a lot of guys that can kick the ball when they're out there on the practice field or in the pregame warm-ups. But the ones that last a long time, like Gary Anderson, he's probably laughing inside right now.
Gary Anderson is in his 10th year for Syracuse. He was signed by the Steelers back in '82 after he was waived by the Buffalo Bills.
Well, I'm sure he's seen some of these ploys before. It doesn't seem to bother him. When you can kick 77% of your field goal, you've got a job for a long time.
Now the Bengals do have one more timeout remaining. Have to doubt that they use it, but do you think Sam Weiss will? It doesn't appear that they will go with that last timeout. It'll be a 37-yard attempt. And does he hook it? Yes! He hooks it wide to the left. So the timeout does pay off.
Well, Joel, I guess that's why we make all that big money. So we can tell you what's going to happen, and then the exact opposite does happen.
So after making his first 2 today, Gary Anderson misses from 37.
Maybe standing around on that cold field gets everything a little tight.
And it remains an 11-point lead at halftime for the Cincinnati Bengals. Be back with the Domino's Pizza NFL Live halftime report after a word from the NFL and a message from your local station. Turn in a big way of Ickey Woods.
Ricky Woods made some big plays for him here. He bounces outside on a veer play, gets to the end zone. It's good to see Ickey back rolling again. And then he gave us a shuffle a few minutes later, Joel.
And almost 200 yards of offense in the first half for the Cincinnati Bengals. Lee Johnson kicks it away to Rod Woodson. The Steelers will have it to start the second half. At the 11-yard line, Woodson waving his way out to the 30 with a flag down on the play right at the end of the run. Leon White and Ricky Dixon down on the special teams. Had an opportunity to look at the Coors Light halftime stats, and there are those 200 yards I was talking about, 198 to be exact. Time of possession meaning very little as far as the Bengals are concerned, because they hit with a big play, Dan.
Well, that's what it was. Boomer had a play-action pass early on that set up a touchdown, and then, of course, the great effort throwing the ball to Rodney Holman after play-action set the stage.
Illegal block on the return, number 20, receiving team. 10-yard penalty, first down.
So really, Cincinnati's had a couple of big pass plays, and that's the difference in the ballgame so far.
So the Steelers start with the ball first and 10. After the penalty flag at their own 19-yard line. And again, the second most penalized team in the NFL picks up another. Hodge in motion. Warren Williams on the give. Flags on the play. It looked like Hodge may have moved towards the line of scrimmage before the snap. Good yardage out to the 25. A gain of 6, but I believe it'll be all brought back.
Yes, it is motion against Cincinnati. Excuse me, against the Steelers.
Illegal motion foul, number 33, offense. 5-yard penalty, first down.
And it was Merrill Hodge.
Merrill Hodge is going to lead up inside there, trying to get a quick start. Make sure he can get on those linebackers a little bit quicker than he could have. There you'll see Hodge leading up inside. Can't see an awful lot there, but that's a guy that you don't expect to make a few mistakes like that.
So back-to-back penalties against the Steelers. Now it's first and 15 from their own 14. Pressure coming on O'Donnell. Finds the tight end over the middle, Eric Green, for the 17. Only 3 on the reception, though. He's knocked down by Leo Barker, the inside linebacker, in his 8th year from New Mexico State. Eric Green with a banged up and a bruised knee. We were asking Chuck Nolan, who's a bit overweight. He says he may not be that much overweight, but he's lost some of the speed that you got used to last year because of the bruised knee situation.
Well, I think if you've got some bad parts, give the parts a break. Lose a little weight. And Eric running somewhere over 280 pounds, maybe a little heavy.
He's out of the backfield in motion. Second and long to Latham Errol Hyde. Across the 20. That is all. He's put down by David Grant, the right tackle.
Looked like Carl Zander on a blitz, ran right by Hodge in the backfield. But I think for the Steelers to get back in this game, what they have to do is get some of their older guys, the guys that they've had make big plays in the past, go ahead and make some. Guys like Hodge, Louis Lips on the defense. Some of those guys like David Little, they need to start making some plays, getting a turnover, getting the ball deep.
39 for the Steelers from the 20-yard line. O'Donnell buys some time, overthrows Louis Lips, and waiting back in deep center field, Fernandez Vincent had an opportunity.
Once again, O'Donnell going over to the left side of that Bengal defense in the area of Wayne Haddix, not being able to get the ball to the receiver, throwing it behind him.
And now, Dan, because of the back-to-back penalties on the return and also the motion call, now Straczynski is punting way back at his own 5, so the first possession, barring a turnover for Cincinnati in the second half. They should have sensational field position with Barber waiting for the punt close to the 40-yard line. Straczynski sends out a beauty. Barber way back at the 35 did not call for the fair catch. And Dwight Stone is down there to wrap him up. Fortunately for Mike Barber, it was little Dwight Stone and not one of the bigger ones on that coverage team. As we come back to Cincinnati.
See sports coverage of the National Football League is brought to you by the new Mazda. Mazda, it just feels right. By Pop Pringles Corn Crisps. More of what you want, less of what you don't. By Delta Airlines. We love to fly, and it shows. And by Hertz. We never forget who made us #1. We're Hertz. We're America's wheels.
They're alive and well in the jungle. The 1-8 Bengals taking on the 3-6 Steelers as the Bengals are looking for their second straight, leading 17-6. And Cincinnati has it for the first time in the second half. 1st and 10 at their own 35. James Brooks on the quick hitter across the 40 to the 41. Well, the difference in the first half for Cincinnati was Boomer Esiason. Almost 200 yards of total offense, most coming from the left arm of Esiason despite a sore left shoulder. He had a successful day last week in their win over Cleveland, hitting 18 of 30 for a couple of touchdowns. You can see his numbers so far, 13 of 17. He had 1 point, hit 7 straight before that interception by Thomas Everett. And now it's 2nd and 4 outside of the 40. Woods the only one in the backfield. And it's Ickey Woods breaking tackles for a first down across the 45. Well, if you joined us late, Harold Green went out with an injured right knee. That opens up the opportunity for James Brooks and Ickey Woods to run the ball more often.
Well, right there, Woods made a good move right at the line of scrimmage to have David Little, probably the best defensive player for the Steelers, maybe one of the best linebackers for the Steelers inside. His guy usually makes a sure tackle. Ickey made him missing.
1st and 10. Play action, pressure coming, and David Johnson slams him. It's picked up. Williams has it. Williams down the sideline. It should be a Steeler touchdown. I don't see flags. Touchdown, Pittsburgh. Gerald Williams. David Johnson made the hit. Now, are there flags back upfield? No. 37 yards on the return for Gerald Williams, who got the start due to the injuries to Brian Hinkle, an outside linebacker. Williams in his 3rd year from Purdue.
Well, here, Boomer's got a little half-roll play action. Johnson coming off the corner, unblocked. Just wrecks Boomer. Boomer dropping the ball. That's what I was talking about. One of these old hands need to make a big play to get Pittsburgh back in it. That's what happened.
Gary Anderson for the point after. That starts spinning left, but it does go inside the upright. And a new ball game. They create the fumble, capitalize on the turnover. It translates into 7, and it's only a 4-point lead for the Bengals. Returning at 37 yards on the pickup of the fumble by Esiason. He scores the touchdown for the defensive unit of the Pittsburgh Steelers, but the credit should go to David Johnson, number 44, the cornerback on a blitz.
Johnson came off that corner in a hurry. Boomer never felt him coming.
And now the line drive effort off the foot of Anderson. Brooks lets it go out of bounds. And now they're going to say it found the end zone. It looked like it was out of bounds before the pylon. Instead, it'll be first and 10 at the 20-yard line for Cincinnati. If it had gone out of bounds, it would have been at the 35.
It's a touchback. The ball hit the pylon. The pylon is out of bounds in the end zone. Touchback.
Thank you for the explanation, Jerry Markbright.
Well, technically, that is out of bounds if it does hit the pylon, and you can see it does. It hit it on this side, but yet, technically, that is a touchback.
So the Bengals get it back, leading by only 4 now. James Brooks wrapped up in a hurry by big number 98, the nose tackle, Gerald Williams.
Well, Gerald Williams has had a good year, probably the best of the interior defensive linemen for the Steelers. He's starting to get some help from Aaron Jones and Donald Evans. Evans being able to keep Kenny Davidson off the field a little bit more, being able to play a little bit better against the run. So that Steeler front's played pretty well. Their problems has been in the secondary and basically not getting those turnovers.
And as you can see from that last graphic, the offense has given up points in the wrong direction on interceptions and that fumble return. Zicki Woods is on the receiving end of fumble. Bruce Reimer's coming up with it, but they cannot advance it, so it'll go back to the spot of the fumble, the 25-yard line, and it'll bring up 3rd and 5. Very alert play by the offensive lineman, the left guard, Reimers.
On the 24.5-yard line.
And now they're saying it was down anyway at the 25. We look at the Hurts 10-minute ticker. Green Bay having their problems now after an early lead of 7-0 over the Buffalo Bills. Washington on their way to 10-0. New Orleans with their first lead in the second half. They are off on top of San Francisco by 4. And now 3rd and 5 coming up for Boomer and the Bengals. Looks one way, goes the other way. A flag on the play. Eddie Brown's got more than enough for the first down. But a flag is thrown back at the 29-yard line. Will that negate the first down? Yes. No, a holding call against the defense.
More than likely it'll be on one of those guys lined up on those inside slot receivers, keeping them out of the middle. They'll grab them. Let's get a call here on a number.
Holding number 57, defense. Penalty is declined. Completed pass, 3rd down.
It looks like Gerald Williams was lined up on Holman, the tight end, trying to keep him on the line of scrimmage, keeping him out of the pattern. Got caught.
1st and 10 for the Bengals outside their own 37. 9:20 left in the 3rd. James Brooks will not get outside. Everett coming over to turn it in. The safety, Keith Willis, also there.
Keith Willis in now at left end. Been around a long time, making a lot of good plays for the Steelers. There he did a good job setting off Walter's block, and turning and running the back down out on the flat. Still able to get out there and help on the edges.
2nd and long. Only a yard of the carry for James Brooks. Pocket holds up for Esiason. And over the hands of Eddie Brown. That was a fastball.
Not only that, he didn't get the ball all the way down. He knew he had to gun it in there. Johnson was making a good break on it, so he knew he had to get there quick. Just kind of settled on him a little bit.
207 yards passing so far for Boomer Esiason. They had 363 yards of total offense last week as opposed to 183 the week before when Esiason could not play against the Houston Oilers. So now it's 3rd and 9 outside the 38. Esiason has his tight end Holman right at the marker. Coming in with a spot, the linesman gets him the first down. Near the 48. So they convert on a key 3rd down.
Well, that was a big 3rd down series for Cincinnati, and it looks like Rodney Holman has really come back strong in the second half. In the early part of the season, he wasn't making those plays. Now it looks like Holman is back doing the things that made him a Pro Bowl player. And maybe Ickey Woods. Ickey Woods has showed up today. He's trying to help the offense. So the Bengals able to spread it around today, and it's good to see Rodney come back and really contribute today, because we've had some tight ends in Chicago from time to time. To get that dropitis, it's a hard one to shake.
Rodney Holman in his 10th year out of Tulane with a reception for the first down. That keeps the drive alive for Cincinnati. A 17-13 Bengal lead with 8:32 left in the 3rd.
Well, they're going back with Caddis, going with the 2 tight end set.
The power look for the Cincinnati Bengals with Brooksy, only one who single set behind Esiason. 1st and 10. Not much available up the middle. 2.5 yards, and that is all for James Brooks.
Well, Pittsburgh's done a good job of stopping that interior run today. That's what Boomer wants to do, is get that running game inside between the tackles established there with Brooks and Ickey Woods. And then he can go ahead and get that play action up on top. But so far, Pittsburgh's done a reasonably good job of stopping up those lanes inside.
2nd and 8 from midfield. Movement is Esiason gets it away for James Brooks. Flags on the play. The ball falls incomplete.
Well, Boomer told us yesterday he thinks he can get some of these Steelers front guys off when he goes to that hard count. If he goes to the 3rd count or the 4th count and give it that hut, the 2nd one, he thinks he can get him. And he's got him a number of times.
What did you say? I didn't pick up on that.
It's called the hard count. It's something I always hated.
He also told us he thought he could get the safeties to bite early and go deep down the middle.
Well, the reason he hasn't been able to get those safeties to bite as much as he would like is they haven't been able to establish that inside running game. And it looks like he's going to go ahead and try to keep cracking at it there with Caddis in and Holman, the 2 tight ends, just pound away at that interior.
Foul offense. Penalties declined. 3rd down.
The play goes against the Bengals, the call. So it'll bring up 3rd and long. They did not name who was the guilty party. But normally when you have a motion call, it's a dead ball foul. The play is not allowed to continue.
Well, it looked like Keith Willis got off a little bit quick from the left end position.
So now it brings up a 3rd and 8.
Could have drawn someone off.
They continue with the double tight end set on 3rd and 8. Esiason moving the pocket. Goes to Caddis. Struggles trying to get the first down. Won't. He's short by 3 at the 45. Now a 4-point lead. The decision to be made at the 45-yard line of the Steelers. And they will punt the ball away. Play it safe. Try to pin the Steelers back deep in their own territory. They've really done a great job of containing the 2nd best return man in the AFC, 4th best overall in the NFL. In punt returns, Rod Woodson.
I'll tell you what, Joe, when you got a guy punting like Lee Johnson, who I think is probably the best punter in the game right now, it makes it a lot more fun to cover. So those cover guys, they're going to enjoy this because they know Woodson won't have a cheap kick return on them.
And now will be a delay of game call against the Bengals.
Delay of game, offense, 5-yard penalty, 4th down.
Most teams decline that now, Dan, so they don't give the punter the extra 5 yards to work with. The Steelers take it, though.
Well, when you got a guy like Woodson, you kind of think that he's going to catch the ball no matter where it lands, and that'll be 5 extra yards tacked onto the return.
Down the middle it goes. Woodson lets it sail over his head, and it takes a left turn to the sideline. What a punt by Johnson. It goes out of bounds at the 8-yard line, where the Steelers will start with the ball. They are only down by 4 now. There's 6 minutes and 15 seconds left in the third quarter. So O'Donnell and the offense on the field when we come back to Riverfront Stadium. And a big reason, the defensive work. The defensive coordinator, Dave Brazil, has to be pleased. They make the big play. They force the fumble. It's returned for a touchdown. And now, Dan, they get the ball back to the offense.
I think the momentum changed right there at the end of the second quarter when Thomas Everett picked off that pass. So the defense is really trying to spark the offense.
1st and 10, close to the 9-yard line for Pittsburgh. Out of the backfield, Merrill Hodge tries to spin it outside. And he takes it for 4 to the 13-yard line. We'll come right back to Riverfront, but let's check in once again for an update with Bob Costas.
Well, Joel, here are those Indy Colts who hadn't scored a touchdown in 21 quarters, scoring for the 3rd time today. Jesse Hester makes his 2nd touchdown catch from Jeff George. This one covers 7. Earlier one for 49. Clarence Verdun brought the second-half kickoff back for a touchdown. They're tied with the Jets, 21 all in the 3rd at the Meadowlands. Joel?
Thank you, Bob. It's 2nd and 6 now, close to 5. For the Steelers and O'Donnell, who goes for Louis Lips, and he's got the first down outside of the 20 to the 21-yard line. He had that cushion again working on Wayne Haddix.
Well, Louis just pushes him off and then runs a comeback. Well, you see O'Donnell doesn't even look at anyone else on the field, knowing Haddix is going to give him a cushion. Runs that comeback perfectly, but the thing is, watch for Cincinnati go ahead trying to drop a linebacker out there underneath. Now, if O'Donnell doesn't start watching those linebackers too and just gets tunnel vision, one of those outside linebackers, maybe Francis, will be out there and pick it off.
Philadelphia trying to come back on the Hurts 10-minute ticker at Cleveland down by 10. Merrill Hodge on the first down carry. Good yardage up the middle. Across the 25 to the 26, he gets 5. But that is still only 45 yards on the ground so far for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Neither team, Dan, has been able to get any type of rushing game going this afternoon.
That kind of surprises me, too, because especially Cincinnati, they got that big line, and even though they lost Green, they've still got James Brooks, they've still got Ickey Woods, they haven't been able to get it going. But the Steelers traditionally are a pounded-out type of offense with their running game, so I think they're going to stick with it here and try to establish it here in the second half.
Green in motion out of the backfield. O'Donnell looking one way, going the other to Merrill Hodge. And Hodge has another first down. He's out across the 31. Let's see where they spot it. It should be enough. Near the 32.
Merrill Hodge runs the old bait block. He acts like he's going to block that linebacker. That linebacker says, hey, I can beat this guy and get a sack. So as soon as he gets off with Hodge, Hodge just turns around. They just play pitch and catch over the defender's head, and he goes for the first down.
So the momentum has definitely shifted. Now can the offense capitalize off the mode that the defense has given them? They take it from their own 9 with another first down near the 32. 137 yards passing so far on 15 completions for Neil O'Donnell. Blockers out in front, but torpedoing the play, it's James Francis, the outside linebacker, as Merrill Hodge gets a couple. Up to the 34, and that is it.
Well, you see at the top of your screen, number 99, Alonzo Mitz and Francis combining here. Go ahead and make the play on Hodge. Cincinnati's defensive front has really played the run pretty darn well today. And those big guys, Mitz, Crumry, and Grant, are good.
best defensively in total defense in the NFL. O'Donnell going for Warren Williams out of the backfield for another first down. Once he broke the tackle of Eric Thomas. Check that. It was Barney Bussey, 27, not 22.
Well, I'll tell you what, James Francis and Alfred Williams have been getting some pressure for those defensive backs. That last time, Alfred Williams working against Jackson, the left tackle, back into the face of the quarterback. So I think that's going to be the key, how well those offensive tackles can pass protect here in the second half.
2.5 minutes left in the third. 4-point Bengal lead. Delay for Hyde. Forget it. Alonzo Mitz in the backfield almost as soon as Merrill Hodge took the handoff. Alonzo Mitz in his 5th year from Florida. And it's a loss of a couple of yards, bringing up 2nd and 12. So a passing situation. Clydestone, Louis Lipsch in there once again. Callaway checks out.
They look for O'Donnell to go to something shorter to get him in a 3 and 5 instead of a 3rd and 12 if it doesn't get there.
The pocket holds up well, and Williams was available, but it was wide of the intended target. Riverfront, Joel Meyers, Dan Hampton. The Steelers looking at a 3rd and a dozen. Play action for O'Donnell out of the shotgun. Pressure comes, gets rid of it in time, but overthrows Louis Lipsch.
A couple of plays ago, it was Alfred Williams getting pressure. That time, the other bookend, number 50, James Francis, coming from the outside right. Leveling O'Donnell, just wrecking him. That hip wasn't good when we started the game, and it can't feel any better with all the beatings he's taken today. There you see Francis just running by John Jackson, the left tackle.
And he lands on the injured right hip.
Every time when the quarterback has an injury, it seems like every time they're hit, they'll re-injure that same spot.
Barber waiting for the punt from Straczynski. Barber will accept it at the 16-yard line. And turns it past the 20 to the 22. So the Bengals get it for the 3rd time in the second half. They enjoyed outstanding field position in the first half, but that has not been the story so far in the 3rd quarter.
Well, Joe, we saw the Steelers' offense sparked by the play of their defense. We'll see if now the Cincinnati offense can live a little bit off of the excitement generated by those bookends, generating some heat on Neil O'Donnell, the Steeler quarterback.
The no huddle is ready on 1st and 10 from the 22. James Brooks works his way to the outside. Nice run by Brooks near the 30-yard line. And a flag goes down for a late hit. That was Aaron Jones. And unfortunately, Brooks is not getting up. Finally, he does. That's been a problem for Pittsburgh.
Unnecessary roughness. Number 97 defense. Late hit out of bounds. 15-yard penalty. First down.
There you see number 97, Aaron Jones. It's been a problem, I was about to say. Dan Jones and Greg Lloyd both picking up mistakes like that throughout the course of the season.
Well, your defense does not need to try to overcome dumb bonehead plays like that. Last week, Aaron Jones had a similar call. That was 3 yards out of bounds, late and flagrant. There's no sense in that.
Brooks would have been short of the first down by a couple. Now it's first down instead, all the way to the 44-yard line. 55 seconds left in the 3rd. Pocket holds up for Esiason, dumps it off to the tight end. And Rodney Holman gets just about 3 on the reception to the 47. They should get one more playoff before the end of the 3rd quarter. So we check in on the Hertz 10-minute ticker. Houston has tied it up now with Dallas. And what an upset that would be at the Meadowlands, with the Colts on top by 7 over the New York Jets. 2nd and 6. Still close to 7 for the Bengals. Delay to James Brooks. And Thomas Thomas Everett came up in a hurry, the safety, to make the hit. So that is the final play. And when we come back, it'll be 3rd and just about 4 for the Bengals. We'll be right back to Riverfront after these messages from your local station. Sorry, I used the word chilly when I talked about Cincinnati. It's pretty good here, though. Joel Meyers along with Dan Hampton, and a big 3rd down coming up for the Cincinnati offense. 3rd and 4 for the midfield stripe. Can the defense continue to stop Boomer and the Bengals? Because, Dan, they only had 51 yards of total offense, Cincinnati, in the 3rd quarter. Eddie Brown in motion. Pressure coming on Esiason. Going to get rid of it in time. It's deflected. Evans got a hand on it, and Holman has the catch. What a break for Cincinnati.
And break is exactly what it was. It was a jailbreak. Esiason had no chance. You'll see it looks like there's so much confusion. The Steelers blitzing both inside linebackers. They just ran free. Looks like Donald Evans, the right end, was out there covering in the flat for the inside linebackers after they blitzed. Deflected the ball right into Holman's hands.
Well, the Bengals got plenty of breaks last week against Cleveland when the Browns had it 3 times inside the 20 in the final 6 minutes, but still could not beat Cincinnati, losing by 2. What a big one there. 1st and 10. Steelers 43. Play action for Esiason. Over the middle. Has Holman. Has a first down to the 25. But did he ever take a hit from Everett?
Everett cut him right on the left knee. That's bad news, folks. Oh, boy. There was the pass all the way. Not much of a fake there. Boomer just realizing he's trying to get to that tight end as quick as he can. Gets him between the zone. Oh.
Helmet on the knee. Thomas Everett taking down Rodney Holman. We'll return to Riverfront to find out the status of the big tight end. He found Rodney Holman, as you can see, got up and appears to be okay. The Bengals tight end. He's got 7 receptions, taking them at last grab for a first down. 7 for a total of 87.
Well, you'll see Thomas Everett just come up and chop him at the knees. Now, Everett giving up some 65 pounds, but still, I just hate to see that type of tackle.
That is the season high in receptions for Rodney Holman, who came in with 17 over the first 9 games. He's got a total of 24 now. James Brooks and Everett racing through. Made quite a play in the backfield, a loss of at least a yard, maybe 2. Yes.
Well, it looks like Everett may have rung his bell. He tried to chop James Brooks. It looks like Brooks, who is just a pine knot. This guy's 180 pounds of dynamite. You see him right here. Kind of put the old shot to Brooks's hip. He may have absorbed a little bit of a blow that time.
Talking to Thomas Everett, he told us he lives in the weight room. And you can tell with the way he plays the game. Very physical man who is not that large. Thomas Everett's only 5'9", 180 pounds. It's a 2nd and long. 2nd and 11. Close to the 27. Play action for Esiason. Pressure coming. Brooks is available. Brooks getting away momentarily from Carnell Lake to pick up extra yards, about 3 extra, down to the 18. Dan, what is it like, though, when a Thomas Everett goes in and has the helmet leading the way, and all of a sudden it absorbs that blow from a knee of a James Brooks?
Well, they're both about the same size, about 185 pounds. But the thing is, it's all how you attack with your headgear. A lot of times you get your headgear across a hip or a knee, and it'll spring your neck a little bit. And a lot of times you'll kind of have a burning sensation down both arms if you don't hit correctly. So the best thing to do is just hit them square up right down the middle.
3rd and 2 is Esiason. Gets rid of it in time. Has Eddie Brown for the first down to the 11-yard line. Ron Woodson talking it over. Maybe he thought he was pushed off.
Very well could have been bumped off. There you see Boomer just with the half low, firing the ball out. Eddie come on a comeback. Looks like Woodson maybe screened a little bit.
Well, number 85, Tim McGee, was leading the way on that pass play. That's why Woodson, it looked like, was complaining to the official.
Well, there's a kind of a gray area out there on those flanks where those receivers will pick off of each other. They'll let somebody go first, take the defender, then they'll come back underneath them and screen.
Bengals lead by 4. Ickey Woods on the delay. Goes to the outside. Nothing available. First one over there, Jones, then Olszewski. Brown created the fumble. It's a gain of 2 for Ickey Woods to the 9-yard line. And when you think of Ickey Woods, you don't think of a player that really is going to turn the corner, Dan. You think of him more between the 2 tackles.
Well, that's his forte, hitting it up inside. They're using his size. But if he, when healthy, he can still get out there on that edge and make some things happen. That was a play designed to use the Steelers' hustle and pursuit against them. They bring it all the way back from the right tackle, back around the left side.
2nd and 8 from the 9. Esiason ready to throw. He has time and throws it away. Well, in hockey, they always say the post is the goaltender's best friend.
Well, I think that was indeed a post pattern.
Tim McGee well covered. Double coverage in the back of the end zone on Tim McGee. And a good idea by Esiason trying to avoid his 2nd interception of the afternoon.
Well, that fat guy in the stands is glad the post was there. That would have hit him right in the head. It was a rocket.
They're now 3rd down and 8. They can still pick up a first down inside the 1-yard line. Esiason for Caddis. Does he get to the first down? I believe so. Yes. Well, they'll spot it. He should have enough for the first down. Eric Caddis from Michigan.
Time and time again today, Boomer has bought time dancing around in the pocket, up, back, sideways, waiting for those patterns to open up. Here you'll see
Number 75 and number 78 are eligible receivers.
there, he looked right, looked left, and then went ahead and fired it back to his tight end, Caddis, right at the goal line. Now, that is what experience gives you. You don't become rattled. You dance around, you feel the pressure, and then when you can, and go for the strike, you're able to gun it in there.
On the left side, Munoz, an eligible receiver. The give to Woods. He's in. Touchdown, Bengals.
Well, it's safe to say they're reshuffling here in Cincinnati today, Joel.
2nd score of the afternoon for Ickey Woods. And it's also his 2nd touchdown of the season. It appeared before the Bengals took over back at their own 22 that the momentum had shifted. The Steelers had started to take control as Breach puts it through the upright. But that is all turned around as they call it the jungle in Cincinnati. Woods ready for his 2nd shuffle of the afternoon. And they continue to celebrate at Riverfront. Woods coming up with his 2nd touchdown of the afternoon, and already today he's got more carries in today's game than he had over the previous 9 games combined. He only had 4 carries for a total of 2 yards before coming through in the clutch today for Cincinnati. Lee Johnson booms it away as Rod Woodson waits at the goal line. Woodson dancing along the sideline, goes out of bounds at the 24-yard line. And another look back on that 1-yard run by Ickey.
Just a classic dive. Brooks kicking out on the force man. Ickey bending it up inside. Offensive line doing a good job creating a scene for him to get in.
So now the pressure goes on Neil O'Donnell. A 24-13 lead.
Again, we'll watch those outside linebackers for the Bengals. Can they keep the heat on O'Donnell? So far, they have.
First down from the 24. Play action, Warren Williams wide open. A first down to the 45 for the Steelers. Little razzle-dazzle in the backfield. They fake that reverse with Dwight Stone back there.
Well, it looks like Eric Thomas, the right corner, kind of bit on that reverse. That would be his responsibility to chase. So they go ahead and sneak Williams in behind him. It's a good play. It's a good throw.
First and 10 from the 45. That was the 17th completion. Movement on the right side. Williams goes down. Looked like the Steelers jumped a little bit early on the right side of the offensive line. And while we've got an opportunity, chance to look at the Budweiser 10-minute ticker.
Offense. Prior to the snap, 5-yard penalty, first down.
It was Eric Green, the tight end, over on the right side, as you can see at the Budweiser 10-minute ticker. Green Bay coming back. The Jets trying to come back. And now it's all of a sudden a 7-point game in the third at Cleveland. But don't forget, right after today's matchup between the Bengals and the Steelers, the second half of our doubleheader on NBC, the 7-2 Broncos and the 5-4 Raiders. Critical AFC West showdown. The quick hitter from Merrill Hodge, and Hodge with blockers out in front takes it to the 35 of Cincinnati. Barney Bussey making the hit way downfield, and Dermontti Dawson was out in front leading the way, the center.
Tackle was made on that play by Barney Bussey.
Donald has used that play very, very effectively today. They'll catch those outside linebackers coming and just dump the ball to Hodge or Williams over their head and then get up that left sideline. After the receiver has run the corner off, there's no one to catch him.
So quickly, O'Donnell has taken them from their own 24-yard line to the Cincinnati 35, where it's first and 10. 8 minutes, 10 seconds left in the contest. O'Donnell has Louis Lips, and overthrows his wide receiver, with Barney Bussey applying the hit.
Louis Lips is incomplete.
Well, we see Lewis sneaking down the right side. They run the fake reverse play action again. There, Haddock's jamming him a little bit, then turning him over to the safety and a deep quarterback there. Bussey. Well-designed play. It was well covered by the Bengals.
Steelers have not beaten the Bengals since 1987. It came on this very field at Riverfront Stadium. But now time running out with 8:06 left. They trail by 11, 24-13. It's second and 10. O'Donnell going deep, has a man. Touchdown Pittsburgh and Ernie Mills. And once again working on the new acquisition cornerback Wayne Haddix.
Well, Wayne Haddix was locked up in a man-on-man situation there where he had Ernie Mills all over the field. Mills, having the superior speed, just ran by and O'Donnell lofted the ball perfectly over his head.
And unfortunately, a positive for the offense, but a negative with an injury to their veteran right tackle, Tunchilkin.
And you'll see Haddix up there on a bump and run situation. O'Donnell looks left and Mitch comes right back and lays it out in front of Mills, knowing that only Mills can go after the ball. Haddix not nearly as fast as the rookie.
Anderson tries to cut the deficit to 4. A low snap. Nice job by the punter, Dan Straczynski, to get it up in time. So it is close once again in the jungle. 7:59 left. The Bengals lead it by 4.
Sports coverage of the National Football League is brought to you by Acura Automobiles. Experience precision-crafted performance. By Bud Pride. Dry brewed so it drinks light yet satisfies completely. By Xerex Antifreeze Coolant. The temperature never drops below Xerex. And by Alcoa, reminding you to recycle your aluminum beverage and food cans.
Gary Anderson gets into it as it's a 24-20 lead for the Bengals, and James Brooks will bring it back for Cincinnati. And he is hit in a hurry with flags on the play at the 30-yard line.
Gets back to the 30-yard line.
It's on the return team, the Bengals. Anybody up for overtime? Bengal field goal, Steeler touchdown. We could be around for a while this afternoon. Who is the guilty party? Jerry Markbright.
Holding number 27, receiving team. 10-yard penalty, first down.
It's called on Barney Bussey, the defensive back. And don't forget, next Saturday on NBC Sports at 1 o'clock Eastern, nation's top bowlers competing for a total purse of $200,000 at the Brunswick Memorial World Open. Jerry, I've got the floor now as the PBA Fall Tour rolls on. So join Jay Randolph and Earl Anthony for all the action Saturday, 1 o'clock Eastern on NBC. It's back at the 15-yard line, where it's 1st and 10, called at the 16, with Brown in motion. Brooks spinning, still on his feet, across the 20 to the 21. 5 tough yards for James Brooks.
Well, look for Cincinnati to go back to that pounded out offense. They feel like they need to move this ball effectively down the field and burn some time off that clock, because it seems like every time they get the lead, O'Donnell brings the Steelers right back into it. So they're going to try to use Brooks and Woods up inside, set up that play action for the big strike if they can.
Neither of these teams reminding us of the Kansas City ground game. They have had problems all afternoon.
Well, I think the offensive line for the Bengals being so big and strong, it's like kind of a quandary. I think the Steelers have just outplayed them along the front lines.
2nd and 5 from the 21. Double tight end set. Iffy Woods with a huge hole. As soon as we start talking about them, they open up a wide hole for Icky Woods for a first down to the 30.
Well, there you'll see Munoz on the left side of your screen, number 78, just more or less stalemate into the defensive end. Reimers comes off, gets a wash on the linebacker, and then Krzyzewski wipes out the nose tackle Krumrie.
And we remind you this telecast presented by authority of the National Football League. It is intended for the private use of our audience, and any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Bengals and the NFL is prohibited. This game is the property of the National Football League, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Cincinnati Bengals. All rights reserved, and that's very difficult to do when the Bengals have the ball. 6 minutes and 10 seconds left. It's James Brooks weaving his way across the 30 to the 31. A yard, close to 2 for Brooks on the carry, but they keep the clock rolling. Both teams with a full complement of 3 timeouts remaining. A 24-20 lead for Cincinnati. And an injury sustained by the Steelers' Carnell Lake.
Looks like his neck or his shoulder. Those safeties aren't as big as a lot of the safeties you'll see around the league, and if they have to keep forcing up inside, they're pounding away. The left of your screen, you'll see him right there. Number 37 kind of comes back into a big mass of folks. Looks like he sprung his neck a little bit.
So now both safeties are out. Both starting safeties are out for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Lake leaving the field momentarily. Hopefully he will be able to return. Thomas Everett stung on that left shoulder. He has not returned yet. Esiason on 2nd and 8 has Eddie Brown. And Eddie Brown short of the first down. Hardy Nickerson the first one over, the linebacker. Close to the 38. He's short of the first down by a little bit more than 2. And they're going with a hurry up. Esiason rushing to the line of scrimmage. And it is a timeout used by Pittsburgh. So the Steelers down by 4. Have to use a timeout. Chuck Noll says, we didn't take a timeout. Yes, Chuck.
I don't think anyone did call timeout. There is the line of scrimmage, and all of a sudden Jerry Markbright stops the action. I did not see anyone call timeout, so.
5:09 remaining. So now Pittsburgh has only 2 timeouts left. And they are still arguing the point with the referee, Jerry Markbright. And now, all of a sudden, he may reverse it.
Timeout on the play. Come on back on the field.
Well, that doesn't do any good for the Cincinnati Bengals offense. They were ready to go.
Well, see, that's part of the beauty of that Sugar offense. With no huddle, you keep the defensive personnel off balance. You keep the defensive scheme off balance because they don't have time to more or less regroup after each play. I don't see how Well, that's a heck of a break for the Steelers. 3rd and 2.
And now the opportunity, Dan, to make the defensive substitutions they needed.
Exactly. That's a heck of a break for the Steelers, and I can understand why it happened.
And good news for the Steelers, they get their starting strong safety back in, Carnell Lake. Under 5 minutes left, critical, 3rd down, 3rd and about 3. Ickey Woods. Will he get there? No! He is short by less than a yard. Nickerson and Little, the two linebackers converging.
Well, on that play there, they tried that old bend play where they start the right side and Ickey will come back to the left. I think on a short down situation like that, you got a 235-pound guy like Ickey Woods. Hey, let him try to stop you right at the point of attack. Don't give him a chance to get you going sideways. Attack the line.
And now on 4th and a yard, Sam Weiss and the Bengals appear to be going for it. Well, when you're 1 and 8, Dan, what do you have to lose?
Well, not only that, but I just think that, Sam's trying to make a point here. He feels like he got the short end of the stick on that timeout, letting the Steelers get their personnel in. He's just trying to make a point here.
And now a delay of game. A flag goes up into the air. And they will finally punt the ball. I thought possibly they'd come up to the line and try to get the Steelers to jump because we've seen that hard count with Esiason earlier.
Offense. 5-yard penalty. 4th down.
Well, I think this is a smart move because they still have the lead, and if they try something dumb and don't get it, boy, the Steelers have all kinds of momentum.
But do you want to leave it up to your defense? They're dead last in the NFL at stopping the opposition.
Well, I just think that you got to live and die with your defense. If they're the worst, then it will be evident here in a few minutes. But you got to give them a chance to show that they can stop them too. Don't put them in a hole from the 35. Give them a chance from 60, 70 yards away.
Johnson drops it, gets it back in time. And now flags down as they left early. Woodson on the run, takes it across the 40, out to the 45. No doubt you see those penalties decline by the Pittsburgh Steelers. The timing was off once Johnson dropped the ball, Dan.
Well,
there was no foul for running into the kicker because the ball was fumbled.
No foul.
We had an illegal man downfield on the kick.
But obviously, Pittsburgh will decline that. When the timing is upset there by Lee Johnson dropping the ball, those guys on the outside, they go 1,002, 1,003, and then they go.
Illegal man downfield on the kick, number 58, kicking team. Penalties declined. Timeout.
You saw number 58 over there dancing, and then trying to get off quickly.
3 minutes, 46 seconds left. We'll come back to Riverfront with the Bengals clinging to a 4-point timeout still left for the Pittsburgh Steelers on that very strange sequence where it appeared they had called a timeout. Jerry Markwright said no charge timeout. So the Bengals did not get to go to their hurry-up offense on 3rd and 2. 3 timeouts remaining for Pittsburgh, also 3 left for Cincinnati. And 3 minutes and 46 seconds remaining in the contest. 1st and 10 outside of the 44. Louis Lips. Did he come up with it? No. If he did, that reception would have moved him past Lynn Swan into 2nd place on the all-time receiving list for the Pittsburgh Steelers behind only John Stallworth.
Well, Francis once again up in the face of the quarterback, causing him not to go ahead and follow through. O'Donnell throwing the ball a little bit too low for Lips to come up with it.
2nd and 10 now for O'Donnell in the offense.
Now watch him when he comes up to the line. He's looking for Haddix. He's trying to find where Wayne Haddix is.
O'Donnell has Mills again. It's complete inside the 30. It's all the way to the 26-yard line. What a couple of catches by the rookie from Florida, the 3rd-round draft choice for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, you see O'Donnell going back over on that right side. Great throw. O'Donnell has shown me an awful lot of toughness today. He took a pretty good pounding there in the 3rd quarter, and yet he's unfazed by it. He comes back, he'll call the offensive play, and go ahead and go with the deep ball. Knowing he's going to get hit, he'll go ahead and stand in there and take his medicine, firing the ball, and throwing it well.
Under 3 minutes left. 1st and 10 from the 26. Wide open. Eric Green, the tight end, bumped out of bounds. Just inside the 20 by Barney Bussey. So on 4th and less than a yard, they decided to punt the ball back to the Pittsburgh Steelers to leave it up to the defense to come through. And right now, Chuck Noll's offense picking up the pace in the second half behind second-year quarterback Neil O'Donnell. O'Donnell, their third-round draft choice out of Maryland. Inside, give Hodge out of the shotgun to the 15. And he's got the first down. And don't forget, coming up right after the Bengals match up with the Steelers, the Raiders and Broncos, an NBC NFL doubleheader.
Kind of an interesting thing here. They have flip-flopped the corners, Haddix and Eric Thomas. Thomas coming over playing the left side. O'Donnell's been working over Haddix. Haddix playing on that short side of the field to the offensive left for the Steelers. So they're trying to hide Haddix the best they can and see if O'Donnell can find him.
First and 10 from the 15. Clock running, 2:10 remaining. Underthrowing Dwight Stone. So he'd taken it close to the 5, the pass near the 10-yard line. So now it's 2:06 left. And a second and 10 from the 15. With the way Neil O'Donnell is working, it appears now, Dan, looking down the road, that they're making their investment in the former Maryland quarterback. We may have seen the last of Bubby Brister as the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers as we check in on the Budweiser 10-minute ticker. But what about Bubby?
Well, I think the thing about Brister is kind of a, one of those wild child guys that likes to go out there and throw his body around and make big plays. Well, O'Donnell fits the system a lot more than Bubby does.
Second and 10 from the 15. Can the defense come up big for the Bengals? Merrill Hodge up the middle, near the 10-yard line. And that run by Hodge brings us down to the 2-minute warning. A 24-20 lead for the Bengals. We'll be right back to Cincinnati. Well, that defense shows some teeth now for the Cincinnati Bengals. A big 3rd and 4 coming up. The game on the line for Sam Weish, and the Bengals leading by 4 with exactly 2 minutes remaining. If you're Chuck Noll, Dan, what do you call on 3rd and 4?
Well, I think that last week they were very effective trying to throw the ball into the end zone. I don't think you're going to see them try to run it in the shotgun.
Hodge, the only one in the backfield, as O'Donnell works out of the shotgun on 3rd and 4 from the 10. And it is the run. Hodge doesn't get out of the backfield. Francis wraps him up. You called it, partner. The run out of the shotgun.
If there's two guys for Cincinnati that have come to play today, it's those outside linebackers. Between Francis and Williams, they have made the majority of the big plays for the Bengals to stay in this game.
First charge timeout, Pittsburgh. 40 seconds. Timeout. 40 seconds.
Well, we come back after the Pittsburgh timeout. 4th and 4 for the Steelers. The Ickey shuffle. A couple of touchdowns for Woods today, and that last one, the difference right now. A 24-20 lead for Cincinnati. The Steelers at 3 and 6. They still have a slim shot at putting together a season and possibly a playoff chance. But it all hinges on this 4th, and now better than 4, close to 7, outside of the 12.
Antoine Bennett out here on Lips.
O'Donnell has time. He's got Lips. Did he get in? Touchdown, Pittsburgh. And Louis Lips, giving the Steelers the lead, is also just past Lynn Swan into second place on the Steelers' all-time reception list. Second only now to John Stallworth.
Well, they had taken Wayne Haddix out, and they matched up Antoine Bennett on Louis Lips. And right at the last second, you'll see Antoine Bennett going out there trying to get on Louis. There was some confusion there, and it's all due in part to the fact they kept picking on Haddix, and they had to make a change.
Big extra point. Anderson's got it, and now it's a 3-point difference. Louis Lips with that extra effort from the 2-yard line to bowl over the defensive back to get in. And Neil O'Donnell now has thrown for close to 300 yards.
Well, that's not a surprise. Cincinnati's been giving up a real close figure to that, 300-something or 290-something. But I think more than anything else, we have seen O'Donnell grow up within the system today. He has seen that if you stay in there, you're patient, you make the right reads, you can get all you need if you just give yourself a little bit of time.
The employee owners of Avis salute the game's MVP, and without a doubt, Neil O'Donnell, who's thrown for close to 300 yards, our winner today of the We Try Harder Award. Avis, the official car rental company of the National Football League. He's only in his second season, did not take a snap last year for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but he did play at least a half of every preseason game, and Neil O'Donnell told us yesterday it really paid off when he had to take over for Bobby Brister. Now the pressure shifts to the other Maryland quarterback, class of '84, Boomer Esiason. They only need 3 to send it into OT.
Well, you've got to think that O'Donnell has grown up an awful lot the last couple of weeks, having to bring his team back in the late stages of the game. Last week, a drop by the tight end, Eric Green, nullified his great efforts, but it's obvious that today he knew exactly what he wanted to do. Now, you're not going to get a situation like this every week where you can pick on one spot of a defense where you've got a glaring weakness. But the fact is, he showed that he had the composure to bring the offense all the way down and score the 7.
Barber and Brooks back deep, waiting for the kickoff from Anderson. It'll be James Brooks from the 3-yard line. And good coverage downfield by the Pittsburgh special team, as Brooks only took it out to the 21. So Boomer and the Bengals need only 3. Can they get in field goal range for Jim Breach to tie it up? The longest field goal looking down the road for Jim Breach so far this season, a 46-yarder. Today he's already hit one, a 29-yarder.
Well, the Steelers just line up in the dime knowing the Boomer's going up.
Don't forget the Bengals still have all 3 timeouts left. Minute 18 on the clock. The blitz coming from the outside, and it's poked away from Tim McGee. Making the play defensively, Richard Shelton in his second year from Liberty College.
So they blitzed Carnell Lake, the strong safety, on that last play. Dropping off the outside linebacker, Gerald Williams, in his place. Boomer went to the other side.
Passing numbers almost identical now, Dan. Boomer 24 of 31 for 279 yards. And O'Donnell has 278 yards through the air. Second and 10 from the 21. A minute 14 left. Over the middle, McGee's there. He wants to get to the sideline, and he does so. What an effort.
He was on Rod Woodson. Maybe the finest corner in the game today. And run the deep crossing pattern. Boomer able to slide up in the pocket. Watch Boomer kicking up, get up inside that pocket, keep those outside guys from taking the ball away from him. Able to fire it over. The Steelers run a soft zone there. McGee comes from the right side all the way across the field. Woodson had to come out of his zone drop to get him out.
They're already very close. They need about 20 more yards to get into breach territory. Blitz coming to Esiason, dumps it off. Eddie Brown's got it near the 45-yard line. 5 in the reception. And will they stop the clock? Yes, they'll use their first timeout.
Cincinnati.
Is that an all-out, a sellout blitz, would you call that?
Well, I just think that Boomer's a guy, if you give him time, he'll kill you. You've got to make him make decisions very, very quickly. So you've got to bring some guys, because 3-man rush is not going to get there against that Cincinnati front. They pass protected pretty well. A couple of times they let somebody in the back door. But overall, you're not going to get there with just 3 men. You've got to bring somebody else.
The Budweiser 10-minute ticker. And don't forget, coming up, for many of you right after the Bengals and the Steelers, the Broncos and the Raiders. Critical AFC Western Division matchup. A look at the last one for Boomer.
Well, Boomer just realizing that there was a guy coming untouched. He had to get rid of the ball in a hurry. Jeff Brady in there, blitzing on that left side, getting some pressure.
Four wide receivers setting up for Esiason on 2nd and 5 from the 45. 57 seconds remaining. And 2 timeouts for the Bengals. The little one, Mike Barber, gets out of bounds with the reception. And he's got enough for the first down, I believe.
Barber's a smart guy. You throw it to him when you have to get someone that you trust with the ball. You call them possession receivers. Those are the ones that won't kill you time and time again. But when you need someone to make sure they can catch it, that's the guy you go to. And you can always count on making the smart play like that, getting the first, and then getting out of bounds to stop the clock.
Esiason now 27 of 35 for 318 yards. James Brooks trying to get to the sideline. He won't make it. And the fans don't like the call because it's going to cost the Bengals a timeout.
Second charge timeout, Cincinnati.
They have not had any success running the ball today, Dan.
Well, I don't think Boomer would have called that same play again. You can see he looks like he's upset with himself. And against a nickel defense, you don't have a lot of success trying to get outside wide because a nickel or a dime defense, you've got a bunch of little guys in there to cover, and they can run people down. The best way to attack a nickel defense is with a sprint draw where you go right at the teeth of the defense, right up inside those tackles. That's where you can get big linemen on little guys and get a mismatch. But a lot of times, when you call your own plays, you find out it's easier to get forgiveness than permission.
Well, right now, looking ahead to a possible field goal try to tie it for Jim Breach. They're at the 40. They need to take it close to the 30, so he's looking at about a 47-yard attempt. The limit, maybe 50 yards for Jim Breach. Getting ready if needed with that size 6 shoe on. We don't keep statistics on that, but that's got to be one of the smallest in the NFL.
Well, that's not really a foot, it's a hoof.
2nd and 10. Just inside the 40-yard line. 1 timeout left for the Bengals. 46 seconds remaining. Barber in motion. Esiason with time and a receiver. It's Eddie Brown. They're well within Breach's range now. And the Steelers have to worry about the end zone, too. And Esiason stops the clock. It'll bring up 2nd and 10. Saving that time out with 26 seconds left. Well, we were talking about the Breach field goal size so much. Now they're well within range of Esiason finding the man in the end zone.
Well, I think you're going to see Boomer try for the end zone. He knows he almost guarantee overtime, but he'd like to go for the win right now. Because it's hard to get back in a position like this in overtime. A lot of things can happen, so you'll see Boomer going for the end zone. If not, he'll try to get it down a little bit closer.
And don't forget, when you're talking about the secondary for the Steelers, they are still missing their starting free safety, Thomas Everett, who went out with a shoulder injury. 4 wide receivers for Esiason on 2nd and 10. Going to the sideline and overshooting Tim McGee.
Well, against that too deep zone, I think you're going to see Boomer try to run somebody across the field up underneath that safety. If you just try to run isolated patterns, it's hard to get somebody open. But if you run those deep crossing patterns, a lot of times you can spring someone.
Will they take one shot at the end zone? 3rd and 10 from the 20-yard line. It would be a 37-yard attempt as it stands right now for Breach.
That's going to Rimbert.
Plenty of time for Boomer. And it's dropped by Brooks. Well, it would have been a chip shot from there had Brooks been able to hang on.
Eddie Brown was covered very well in the back of the end zone. So he had to try to go underneath the Brooks. Brooks unable to hold on to it.
Will number 3 come up with 3 and send us all into overtime at Riverfront Stadium? He hit his only try today, a 29-yarder. On the season, he is 14 of 16 in field goal attempts. As I mentioned, his longest so far this season, a 46-yarder. That was in the 3rd game of the season. And 4 of 5 from this distance. So now you remember the Bengals used a timeout trying to make Gary Anderson think about things a little bit too long towards the end of the first half, and Anderson did hook a field goal attempt wide as he missed a 37-yarder at the end of the first half. Now they want Breach to take some time.
Well, I'm looking on the other sideline, Joel. I see George Stewart, the special teams coach, talking to his defensive players, trying to get some kind of an angle. Hopefully they can spring somebody to block it. Last week, Cincinnati able to block a kick.
And there is the special teams coach, George Stewart, out of the University of Arkansas.
But not only is he trying to get the front guys to block it, he's making sure the other ones know the coverage in case there is indeed a fake.
Well, last Sunday, as Dan mentioned, it was the special teams that saved the day for the Bengals. Blocking a field goal try of the Cleveland Browns in the final 30 seconds of play. Eric Thomas getting his hand on the ball. Will the special teams come up big now for the Steelers with 15 seconds left? It'll be a 37-yard attempt for Jim Breach. Yes! It is all even at Riverfront.
Oh, my.
And a flag on the play. A penalty against Cincinnati.
Well, we'll take a look in a second, see if we can detect who's the guilty party.
Holding on the right wing back. 10-yard penalty. First down.
Well, that would be Rodney Holman, who's lined up as a wing on the right of your screen here. You'll see him as a wing. He'll have two guys aside, and then he'll have to try to get the guy on the corner. There, he hooked him.
He definitely hooked him. So a 10-yard markup. And now this would be the longest field goal of the season for Jim Breach. Officially, it'll be a 47-yard attempt to try to tie it with 10 seconds left in regulation. And will Pittsburgh use their last timeout?
Last timeout, Pittsburgh.
Yes.
40-second timeout.
So more time for Jim Breach to think about it. The Steelers trying to snap a 4-game losing streak and also a 6-game streak in the wrong direction against the Cincinnati Bengals. They have not been able to beat the Bengals since 1987 on this field when they won it by the score of 30-16. Now that drop by James Brooks right around the 10-yard line looms even larger.
Well, Breach is a guy that's been in this position before, but, you know, you can see him walking out there around in the field by himself about 15 yards away from all his teammates, and they say no man's an island, but you feel like you're on one right now because you know that you can put this thing in an overtime or you can all go home very, very unhappy. So,
and if he misses, well, Rodney Holman is not going to want to watch the film tomorrow. This is the game. The 47-yard attempt coming up for Jim Breach. It tails back in, and it's good! It is tied up. The longest field goal of the season by little Jim Breach is the equalizer with 5 seconds remaining for the Cincinnati Bengals, and off his foot, Dan, it looked like it started left, and all of a sudden, like a golf shot that fades, it came back in.
well, you'll see him play this shot much like a Bruce Linsky approach shot. He starts it left, and then it cuts back in right down the middle. And I know there's an awful lot of Cincinnati Bengals fans that are very, very happy about it, but I think the guy besides Breach, the most happy about that kick was Rodney Holman, because he could have been a GOAT after being called for the hold.
And now with that field goal, Jim Breach has just tied Ray Wershing for 12th place on the NFL's all-time scoring list with 1,122 points. Well, don't forget, we've got another game on NBC. It'll have to wait a little while unless Rod Woodson turns on some magic for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But coming up next for most of you, the Raiders, the 5-4 LA Raiders against the leaders in the AFC West, the 7-2 Denver Broncos. If I'm Lee Johnson, I don't want Woodson to touch the ball. I squib it.
Well, I don't think Ron Woodson will get an opportunity.
And it is the squib kick. Picked up by the up man Olszewski, who pitches it back for Woodson. And we are on our way to overtime in Cincinnati. So when it looked like the Steelers were finally going to snap that dry spell against the Cincinnati Bengals, Jim Breach comes through in the clutch with a 47-yarder. And it is 27-all at the end of regulation. Now there'll be a coin toss coming up. Then we'll take a short break and come back for the overtime kickoff.
Well, I think if you're Cincinnati, you certainly hope you get the right call, because if Pittsburgh gets the ball.
All right, gentlemen, call it in the air. Heads is the call. It is heads. Pittsburgh wins the toss.
Well, if you're the defensive coordinator for Cincinnati, you're going to try to find some way to hide Wayne Haddix, because it looks like that Pittsburgh's going to have the ball, and they're going to come after him.
So it's going to be up to the Bengals defensive unit at the outset of overtime. Can they come through now? We'll be right back to find out after these messages from your local station. We are on our way to overtime at the Jungle Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati. Joel Meyers, Dan Hampton. And anxious moments for Chuck Noll and Sam White. A big break for the Steelers, though, winning that opening toss in overtime. And right after, we conclude the contest here at Riverfront, the Raiders and the Broncos, the second half of our doubleheader on NBC. Lee Johnson, ready to kick it away to Rod Woodson. Gets away from Woodson, and wisely they'll keep it in the end zone. A very effective move by Lee Johnson. Overtime records. Well, these two have gone at it once in overtime, with Pittsburgh coming out on top. Cincinnati, almost perfect though, taking 6 of their 7 overtime matchups.
Well, Antoine Bennett's back out. Wayne Haddix is back in at the left side cornerback. So as we watch what O'Donnell does at the line of scrimmage, you'll see him. He's looking out here now, seeing what the matchup is.
Stone goes in motion on 1st and 10 from the 20. The dump off for Hodge, and he has blockers. Good play, as Francis was already down, still got Hodge. A gain of 5 that could have easily been 10 or 12. And don't forget, both teams with veteran place kickers, two of the very best in the business, Gary Anderson and Jim Breach, who just tied it up with a 47-yarder. The longest so far this year for Gary Anderson, a 49-yarder. And that came in the 3rd week of the season as well. 2nd and 5 from the 25. Short of the first down by about 1.5 yards. Grant and Crumry in on that hit.
O'Donnell just going ahead and staying in the normal mode, not getting antsy, trying to get something cheap deep early. Running some base plays.
But now already, Dan, if they hold them on 3rd and 1.5 yards, incredible field position for Cincinnati.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if they do indeed throw it or go ahead and try to run the ball. We'll get an idea here with the set.
Hodge is in the backfield along with Warren Williams.
It looks like a run.
Play action.
Play action.
O'Donnell overthrowing, and wide of the intended target as Haddix pokes it away from Merrill Hodge, who was well covered.
Well, that time Haddix went to the right side. They flip-flopped him. They're trying to keep him off that left side. O'Donnell rolls to him. Tries to work on him. Haddix going ahead, getting into a deep drop, tipping the ball out. Well, that's good because Wayne's been under the gun most of the day. It's good to see him come back with a big play.
Now, the pressure is on the punter, Dan Straczynski. Has not had a good season. He's had a decent afternoon, though. Barber waiting back at the 30. Good hang time for Straczynski. Barber from the 31. And goes out of bounds, close to the 40. They'll spot him out at the 38. So an outstanding start. And a penalty as well. A flag down against Pittsburgh. It'll be declined by Cincinnati.
Illegal man downfield, number 56, kicking team. Penalty declined. First down.
Had the running game been working earlier, Dan, 3rd and a yard and a half, you've got that kind of confidence to keep it on the ground, go to a 2 tight end set. But the Steelers never established a ground game today.
No, they didn't. And in fact, that's partly because the Cincinnati front played great. Now you'll see Holman. Rodney Holman has that left knee bandage. He's one of the big weapons for Boomer today.
And Boomer is throwing on 1st and 10 from the 38. And he has Caddis, the other tight end. He's out to the 48. Let's see what is spotted, whether or not he has enough for the first down.
Well, as fine a player as Holman is, you're not going to lose much with Caddis coming in. He's one of Boomer's favorite guys to throw to because he's a big possession type tight end. Boomer got a little bit of a knock from Gerald Williams, the nose tackle. You'll see Williams coming up the middle. Right here. Again, landing on that sore left shoulder. It hasn't seemed to bother him a whole lot today, Joel, but you get enough of those shots, sooner or later, something else is going to pop out of socket.
Esiason now at 347 yards and counting. They have enough for the first down. And let's not forget, they're only 22 yards away from the 30-yard line of the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's where Breach hit from before. The 47-yarder descended into OT. Don't forget, right after today's matchup between the Bengals and Steelers, the Raiders and Broncos on NBC. 12 and a half minutes left in overtime, and the clock moving. 1st and 10, the 48. Esiason with all day. Icky Woods looking for a block. Nothing develops, but still positive yardage to the 48. Close to 4 on the reception. The Steeler territory. But again, great protection for Esiason.
He's a quarterback. I think those guys really, really do like to protect for him. Because he doesn't go back and stand in the same spot. A lot of quarterbacks will back up, stand at 7 yards behind the center and stay there. Well, Boomer, he feels that rush. He dances and skips around inside the pocket. Makes it a lot easier on those offensive linemen to run people by him.
2nd and 6 from the Steeler 48. Eddie Brown in motion. James Brooks on the carry. Spun down to the 45. Short of the first down by a little more than 3 yards.
Still, we're here in the 5th quarter, and Cincinnati unable to really get something established on the ground. But what that does is keep you from being 3rd and 8. It makes you a lot better chance, gives you a lot better chance to convert on 3rd down when it's 3rd and 4 or shorter. So that even though it wasn't a big play, it was a smart play because now he's got a situation he can easily make.
Woods the only one in the backfield. Boomer has a man. It's Eddie Brown, and they've got the first down. It's to the 37 of the Steelers.
Well, they blitzed 3 linebackers with the 3 defensive linemen. There was a 6-man blitz. And you see Boomer, he got hit. You'll see all the guys from the Steelers coming. They're really pouring it in there. But what that does is make those other guys on defense, the remaining 5, have to cover the entire field. Boomer realizing he can go ahead and hit somebody underneath. They're Woodson a long way off of Eddie Brown.
A shot by David Little. And don't forget Boomer operating with that sore left shoulder. He landed on the elbow and the shoulder. 1st and 10 from the Steelers 37. Delay for Brooks. And he he won't get out of the backfield. No gain. Donald Evans down there. And he was doing everything. Legs, arms, anything he could to get Brooks down. But remember, 7 more yards, and it's a 47-yard field goal try for Breach to win it.
Well, the matchup between Donald Evans and Munoz, I think Evans just won it on the run and Munoz on the pass because, as you said earlier, Joel, Boomer has had an awful lot of time today, and they've got to bring other people and try to make a quick decision here.
2nd and 10 from the 37. 10 minutes left in overtime. Ample time again for Esiason. Woods looking for a block. The ball stripped away. Greg Lloyd's got it. Greg Lloyd on his way. Flag down on the play, but long after Lloyd took it into Cincinnati territory.
Well, that's the play of the game so far. The Steelers defense has been able to make some big plays and keep this game in control. Here, Greg Lloyd out there coming around, stripping the ball from Ickey Woods. Easily the biggest play of the game so far. And he almost returned it all the way, Joel. Eddie Brown had to come from all the way on the other side of the field and finally get him.
And now let's find out about the penalty, because if it's a big mark-off against Cincinnati, they are very close to Anderson's range already.
We got a personal foul, face mask against Cincinnati during the return. 15-yard penalty from the end of the run. First down.
So instead of a 5-yard face mask call, it's a flagrant call of 15 yards. And already they're within range of Gary Anderson.
Well, this is just a safe throw. Ickey's got a guy out there blocking on Lloyd. If he goes to the outside, he easily makes yardage. He comes back right into the defender trying to make a play. It backfires on him. Lloyd getting it. I didn't see no face mask at all.
Did you see it?
No, I did not.
I didn't see the face mask on the tackle either. But it is a 15-yard mark-off, and it's 1st and 10 at the 29 of Cincinnati for Pittsburgh. What a turnaround. Merrill Hyde. Back to the original line, and that is all. Right now, if they don't take it any further inside the 29-yard line, you're looking at a 46-yard attempt coming up for Gary Anderson. Anderson missed a 37-yarder after hitting 44 and 47-yard field goals in the first half. He has not been called upon in the second half to come up with a field goal try. 2nd and 10 from the 29. The pitch for Hodge. Blockers out in front. And Hodge belted out of bounds in a hurry by Carl Zander. They spot the ball at the 26. Checking in the 10-minute ticker, Buffalo prevails by 10 at Green Bay. Dallas and Houston also in overtime at Houston. And New Orleans is top San Francisco by 7. As Indianapolis shocked the Jets on the Jets' home field. And what a surprise, Tampa Bay winning at home by 9 over Detroit. And don't forget, the Raiders in Denver coming up next on NBC. As San Diego's got an early lead on the Seattle Seahawks at Jack Murphy Stadium in San Diego.
First charge timeout, Cincinnati. This is a 40-second timeout. Correction. This is a full timeout.
So one timeout left in overtime for the Bengals, each team with 2 in the overtime session. We'll come right back. The man of the hour could be Gary Anderson of the Steelers. Broncos coming up next at Mile High Stadium in Denver. Joel Meyers and Dan Hampton still at Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati. As overtime continues, 8:35 left in the overtime session. Gary Anderson has a career best of 55 yards. He's already hit from 49 yards this year. But don't forget, he hooked a 37-yarder today and also hooked a 24-yarder, which is normally a chip shot for him last week in that loss to the Denver Broncos when they lost it by 7. If they were to try it right now, it would be a 43-yard attempt for Anderson.
What that hook will do will make you think an awful long time about what caused it. Well, the next thing that happens is you'll find him overcorrecting and pushing the ball. So that weighs heavy on you.
But now it's 3rd and 7. Pittsburgh's got it at the 26-yard line of Cincinnati. O'Donnell has Green wide open. Touchdown Steelers. They win it. Couple of former Terrapins from Maryland getting together. Boomer Esiason and Neil O'Donnell. 26 yards on the touchdown to Green, and the dry spell ends at Riverfront Stadium as the Steelers snap a 6-game losing streak to their division rival, the Cincinnati Bengals.
Well, you see O'Donnell run some play action. Eric Green, the tight end, just pops open.